Yeah, wait. Did oh.
Oh, we're live now.
Hello.
Hey everyone, we dressed up, or more specifically, Marie and Katie dressed up, and I was shamed into it, which is why we're
Yes.
like 3 minutes late.
No,
Like,
But I got a
we didn't.
haircut, so
You were not shamed.
it is like I ripped some books apart.
yeah.
That's Maria. Hey guys. Oh wow, we have 39 people. I forgot this isn't one of the book club live streams, so we
Oh
have
wow,
like
that's a lot. I think that's the most. Wait, is that the most we've ever had?
I don't remember what our viewership was for the last year, but otherwise, yeah.
I'm
I think
pretty
it was
sure
50.
we got up to like 50, 60 at some point.
Yeah,
But it
that's
was
what I
also
thought
like
too.
7 o'clock at night, so it was people are much
Yeah.
more likely to be on there.
Yeah. Less. We have cool people who are very like hungover on Saturdays because Fridays they've been.
Thank you, cheese flavor Skittle. Happy
Hey,
anniversary to
thank you,
us.
Swanlia. All right. Okay. So what our plan is for today is we are going to be ranking some books. It's been 2 years now since we uploaded Spinning Silver, our first book. And since then, we have grown a lot as a channel, and I have some metrics to show that, which I thought would be fun. And then we're going to rank some books. And then I had everyone in our book club rank the different books they'd read in the book club. And so I have a definitive listing of what everyone thought of them. And so that'll be fun, I think. And then we may or may not have some author jail sentences to hand before the court. But may appear. Some books may appear before the court. Let's say.
I'm ready.
Okay, let's go ahead. Do you guys want to say anything before we get started?
Go ahead.
How has
Mary.
it been 2 years? I was talking to Gina, Mistress Sapphire,
yes.
last night, and she was like, it's been 2 years. It hasn't just been 1 year. And I'm like, no, it's been two. And that is
It's very
insane.
upsetting. It's very upsetting. It's because it makes me feel old. I felt like it just started, and then if I think about it, I've been in a relationship with my husband for almost 5 years.
That is depressing.
We're getting old.
We are getting old, but it's kind of cool to have read so many books.
I'm wearing it well.
Oh,
Whatever.
Hold on.
Fuck you.
I'm sorry that I am.
You saw yourself in the thumbnail and you were like, oh yeah. I also put the title wrong in the thumbnail. It's not 2 years of books, it's year 2 of books. But anyway,
Books, yes.
yeah, no, it's crazy because I was looking at some of our older videos where we mentioned having 14 subscribers and 3 of them being people we know, and we're like, we're just gonna forge ahead. And now we have 8,000 subscribers, which is still tiny for YouTube, but
solid
we're
amount
appreciative.
for a small channel. That is a very solid, healthy, respectable amount.
It's way more than I thought we'd get to back when we started. And also, I think for the level of how many channels there are out there, we're actually in a impressive range for how unknown and how none of what we do fits into like what YouTube as an algorithm actually likes.
Well, you finally got the twinkly lights in the background with the white bookshelves, so we're nearly there. No, I'm so happy with our growth, and more than that, I'm really happy with our viewership and our Discord.
Oh my god, the Discord is so healthy.
We're at a point where we can almost do this like sustainably, and that's really all I want. As much as I would like to have a larger, cultural impact and also make that dough. But no, I'm so happy with our growth. I'm so happy that we have a viewership that is constructive and not just like, oh, look, another book haul. And you're right, we don't just do like book hauls and aesthetic like a lot of other booktube. That's right, I'm throwing shade. We do actual analysis, which I'm very proud about.
According to some people, one person in particular, specifically on your guys' Dune video, we don't do a very good job. We're overlooking so many things. There's a thesis to that person's
We're not gonna trash that guy, even though I may
God.
have privately with Maria.
Why won't you need to have me in on that discussion, because I've been so invested in that commenters like progression.
Listen, at some point we're all apparently looking at it from the point of view of literary analysis was just the wrong way to go.
That was funny too. No,
Anyway.
I don't believe on dragging comments publicly, so we'll just go along.
Side note.
But hey, Peachy.
While Maria might have a beautiful white bookshelf background with twinkly lights, I mean, I'm getting there.
Eventually,
What are you
she'll
doing?
have
You are
it.
tanking our viewership as we speak. God, ugh.
But
Here
I
we
also just want to say, like, thank you. So we talk a lot about our Patreon, and our Patreon is incredible. Our patrons are fantastic. Our Discord is amazing. Even though I haven't been, I'm out like the lurker of the group now, where I read a lot of what is happening, but I don't respond. And same with, but like all of the comments we get on our videos, and those of you who are repeat commenters, like even if we don't respond back because we all have full-time jobs and are very busy, like I appreciate you guys so much. And
Mhm.
it's just been like, we couldn't do this without you. The response we get, the feedback is fantastic. Those of you who, when we tear apart books you liked, that you are still willing to hang and be here, like, thank
There
you.
was
That's a lot of grace.
There was one really hilarious comment on Song of Achilles that was like, "Oh, this is what it feels like to be on the other end of a roasting, like a book roasting," and I was like, "That happens, man."
And Nine Fox Gambit, there was a lot of people being like, I've never been nervous going into one of your reviews before, but this one's close to home. And it's just like, thanks for like being willing to listen. And
I know, that's so nice. Every time I see those comments where it's like, oh, this was my favorite book, but I want to hear what you guys have to say. What an amount of respect that I feel so much. Not that I was part of Nine Fox Gambit, you know, like, but neither here nor there. But the idea that you're like waiting for the next episode. You're like me and you're like me and My Happy Marriage right now on Netflix. Nobody will understand that unless they're into anime.
Oh, I thought you meant your actual marriage.
No, there's a anime called My Happy Marriage, and it's weirdly slice of life, and I didn't think I was going to be invested, but I'm very invested, and now I'm waiting on the brink every week for it to come out.
My favorite comments are when they're like, "Oh, awesome! I'm gonna clean my house now," like, because that's so how I do video essays. That it's like nice.
And it's, or like that were people's comforts channels, or when you discover we have a new viewer and they're just like binging 5 of our videos, and you know, because they just keep commenting on it. Like, and you guys think that when you comment on old videos that we posted a long time ago that we don't see it. No, every time one of you is like, this is super old, so you're not going to see it. Nah, YouTube still puts it up as like a new comment, like immediately, so we see it. It doesn't like, all of your commenting is just so valuable. I check it every day, multiple times.
Yeah, literally every day while I'm soaking my feet in the tub in the morning just to wake up. I just let the water hit it and I go boop 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 boop, and then I specifically go, oh wait a second, I didn't get rid of the filter responses that I haven't replied to. So then I click that guy off so that way I can actually see things that they have responded to, and that's not how I discovered.
Wait, why are you on the right side now, Maria?
I'm sorry. I had cat hair in my mouth and I didn't want to be taking it out in the middle, so I removed myself. And now here I can fix it. I'm gonna remove.
I was gonna say, I think you can click and drag.
And then there we go.
Okay, you know, you're right.
I fixed it.
No, it's true. It's very, and the other thing you got to remember is we're not a large enough channel that we get like thousands of comments per video. So like we actually do see pretty much every comment you leave, unless you're blocked, which is like a good 30 people.
Oh, there's some great.
What,
comments.
really? That's so cool. I want to know who the people you blocked.
Oh no, it's just people who have been like abusive.
Wait, I wanna highlight some
mind.
comments. Swanlia says, I like listening to you when I cook food. Last night I made pierogi while listening to the Song of Achilles video. And then is that
That's
white?
also, I love that. I love when people binge our videos. That's
Yeah,
such a, like,
I
a neat
recently
thing to do.
discovered you recently binged everything. And so like or Saga says, I watch during work. Y'all are my comfort watch cycle.
Right underneath Catherine, this one. Oh, we clicked at the same time.
Click, go.
Okay, I'll click it. Sometimes I have to work overtime on a Friday, which bums me out, but your videos help me pull through. That's me and Bose versus the world with all her true crime stuff. So thank you ever so much for considering us your comfort watch.
Oh, someone says, Jazz says, I love watching your videos to fall asleep. There's something so calming about listening to you guys.
Oh, wow, really? That's a compliment, but my God, I don't think any video I'm in deserves.
I was gonna say, Maria's like, you guys don't understand. Her voice is so high. I often have to like move it down enough so it's less like stretchy, sandpapery.
I want everyone to know
I've had
when
to
I
do
was
that.
in South Africa with Maria's family, we watched
CB
old
for
home videos on VHS, and Maria's little high pitched voice as a child was like Minnie Mouse. It was like, and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
How did your voice get deeper as you
don't-
got older?
Yeah, my non-biological mom, when she first met me, thought I was doing a fake voice. She was like, "How can you stand her just doing that voice all the time?" And my other mom was like, "No, that's just how she talks." And she was like, "No, no, no, no. I
Surely
would have
not.
killed her. I would have killed her long ago."
That's really
Yes,
funny.
Maria is indeed from South Africa.
Yes.
Right, and I
Not-
make a joke about that. That's very funny that Maria doesn't like for some reason, but I think you guys can all guess what it is.
That she doesn't, that she's Greek.
No, that she's African American.
I know. I
Oh,
hate that.
that's
I
so
hate that.
dumb.
It's hilarious.
Hi, Maggie. Welcome.
Hey, Maggie. Hey, Shamed, by the way, we haven't seen you around. I've been missing you. I was wondering where you
I
went the other.
know. I'm so
Yeah.
happy to see.
Yeah, people come and go from the Patreon every once in a while, which, like, I understand. I do that with podcasts all the time, but, like, I'm like, oh, where did that person go?
I know. I
Um,
think the same thing. I'm like, where? Then I instantly go to the mental health area, and I'm like,
See, if they've been there, that's really
Yeah.
funny.
yeah.
Okay, you guys want to go ahead and get started?
No.
Let's go. I'm halfway through my cup of tea. The caffeine is hitting.
By the way,
Let's...
you please don't put a saucer under it, because then it makes a clink noise. I always
Oh,
have to cut.
I don't have a saucer
Okay,
today.
good.
It's
Oh
just
my God. Only Maria would have a goddamn saucer.
I hear
Under
it all
her
the time. It clinks. It's clink.
listen, I am a classy lady
Shamed.
and an old lady.
Shamed. You would never be annoying. The mental health area is literally for the sake of people sharing that
we
shit.
made that there. So that,
Yeah,
And if you
okay.
want a special one that's like, hey, more in depth and dedicated mental health area, no one's certified, but we can do that, I guess. No.
Okay, here we are on year 2. I thought we would start with some analytics, because I really like analytics. Okay. So,
Wait,
for
I'll
views,
read this.
you can see what I like about this is that often people get... I covered out the money, because
Oh,
I don't want you
Jesus.
guys to know about the millions we made.
Oh yeah, the millions.
It's very little.
Yeah, it's like nine digits, I think. There, yeah, it's not, especially compared to the Patreon, it's not a lot. It's how did Maria put it? It's one trip to the store for food money, grocery
Yeah.
money.
Yeah. Like it's
Which is not
groceries for the-
insignificant either.
No, it's not. It's groceries for the week. I'll take that.
Okay, so what I like about this is that you can see that our views are slowly growing over time. So this is just the last year, right?
Will,
And
can I answer a question somebody asked that is unrelated and I don't want it to get lost when comments?
Yes.
Okay,
The
perfect.
book club one.
Yeah. Kate asks, can I ask how big the book club is and how many members? I think I looked last night and we have 80 something between our book club and our Parasocial Darlings tier, which both get to be in the book club. There's like 48 and 49 members in those two tiers respectively. And so it's a pretty big book club. Now, I will say there are tons of books where like not everyone reads them, but I will say for like the past few, there's been at least like 15, 20 people.
so what we have is we tend to, because I had everybody again do a tier. Well, not everybody. I gave people the option of doing a tier ranking, and about 13 people did it. And that's what I would say is pretty much our active, like readership as a whole. But in terms of people who actually comment, I'd say there's like 6 or 7 of videos. Like that's kind of how large I tend to think of the book club as, even though theoretically, you know, we tend to get like 13 to 14 people in the live stream, but I don't think not everyone comments, which is fine. You don't need to be super active, but in terms of size, in terms of like people you're interacting with, like that's about how many.
Ooh, we're at 97 viewers, guys.
We
Oh,
are also,
wow,
side
look at
note, there are
that.
2 things I'd really like to point out. Number one,
Sorry.
Number one, I heard if you say fourth wing 3 times in a mirror, the author herself appears to tell you how sexy Zayden is. And then I really enjoyed this one. This is a board meeting.
It is a board meeting.
And then very last one that's completely unrelated, but I would like to share. Shamed has indeed been playing Scrabble with Gina and
Oh, yeah.
on Discord.
Katie told me about it, and Gina told me about it. That's so funny.
I just randomly invited her one day and I was like, hey, look, she's online. I bet you she likes Scrabble.
and then
So Go
SS
ahead.
Soto says, also, I was briefly a beta reader for one of the author tubers you made a few videos on, and I just want you to know you were very on point about your a lot of your speculation.
Yeah, there was a comment under one of the Savior books that was talking about having been a beta reader, and like it kind of confirms a lot of what you would think about Jenna Morassi and her ability to
Oh,
take
really?
criticism. Yeah. Okay, so we're back
Okay,
to
back to the board meeting. We're
Right, so
crunching
we are up-
numbers here. What is
we
the
are up
viability?
3.7 subscribers over the whole year, which I think is pretty cool. And again, we see spikes every time we do a roast, which is a little annoying. Can you guys see my mouse, by the way? Yeah, you can.
Yes,
Yes.
we can.
So like here, for example, you can see Fourth Wing, which has raised our viewership a ton when we did that. I think this is
Yeah.
one of the Akatar books. And so I want to now talk about you guys, our viewers. So unsurprisingly, half of you are from the United States. And then we have about another 6 from United Kingdom, 5 from Canada, and then Germany, and then everybody else is in like the 2 to 3. Here we have Sweden at the bottom, 0.5. That's all Lindbergh right there.
I'm
What's up,
I'm
Lindbergh?
pretty shocked that we even have anyone in the Philippines, honestly.
I'm not sure how real
have
some of
reach.
these are, because it's like sometimes
It
I
must
think it's
be a
people just click
VPN.
on the video and then off. You know, I'm not sure how true that is. And then in terms of age and gender, we have female and at 71% and male at 28%. So again, and then we need to get those numbers up. So Katie, Maria, you guys are going to have to start. Well, you know what? They now have AI that can put like cleavage over someone, so hopefully we'll just have to do that. And then most of the people are in the 18 to 24, and well, most of them are in the 24 to 34, which I think is pretty like that's where we're at. So like that's
Yeah.
actually really cool. I think. Well, we'll see, because next year I'm going to be in the 35 to 44, and that's going to be depressing.
No, you're aging out of. Oh, look, our first little pumpkin spawning.
Yes, I wonder.
Call
I
her,
should have
call
done
her.
a thing to see how much. Oh. Oh.
Love her so much. I love her call and response.
Yeah,
This
she's
is so
so
cute.
she's so responsive. Okay, back to the revenue.
That's
We
what-
got to be
that's-
serious. We're
that's what
serious
he said.
business.
And then, okay, so our top videos. Do you guys want to guess what they are for the year?
Fourth
Yes.
Wing, Akatar, and that.
Oh no, Fourth
Saviors.
Wing came out. Fourth Wing came out too late.
you do have to bear in
Oh.
mind that it's weighted a little bit more towards books that came
My
out
guess
early.
is it'll be videos from last year, not this
No.
year.
No. All I'm gonna say is the series with the wing touching is going to be on here. The wing
The
touching.
wing-
Oh,
Akatar.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, surprise! It was Light Lark. That one got us a massive amount of viewers.
Really?
Yeah, it still does. It does very well, weirdly enough.
Second
um,
one.
Yep.
We have
second one.
Akatar, which is, still not doing too bad. By the way, how good am I at thumbnails, guys? Like, come on.
Oh my God, William, you need
to
to-
this channel.
Put some of your faces in here. God damn.
I have body dysmorphia. I don't like seeing my face.
I know.
And then, the 2 Savior ones, still, by the way, the majority of our views on the channel are from those 3 and then the Cyborg Tinkerer. And I don't really know how, like, that's how everyone finds our channel. Everyone in the Discord is like, I read the book and thought it was terrible and was wondering if other people did, and then they did. Also, Violent Delights. I wish that video was a little bit better edited, because it's such a bad book.
What was that one? I wasn't part of that. Was that?
No, that was Romeo and Juliet, Shanghai, 1920s.
That's
but
right. I remember
boring
Maria
somehow.
saying, yeah.
Every time I think about that book, I just get so disappointed.
And then for all time top videos, Savior's Champion, Savior's Sister, then Iron Widow.
Iron
weirdly.
Widow, Jesus.
a
Which
lot of
I-
people really feel heavily about Iron Widow.
What's funny is I have specifically made that less clickable for people. So like, is Iron Widow a terrible book? Just used to be the title, and then I put yes, very, so that we don't get people clicking on it thinking we like it. And even then, I didn't even put a person's face there because I was
Yeah.
like, I don't want people clicking on it. And yet it still does very well.
Thank you, AJ, for stopping
Guys.
by. They say happy anniversary. Sorry, I'm out and missing the live. We'll catch up later. We'll see you
Aw.
later.
And
Bye.
then right above we have Saga saying,
Oh,
I found
I'm
it right
sorry.
after my dad died. It's helped me a lot. I'm glad. That's really
I'm
tough.
so glad.
I'm sorry.
And then, Nim says, I found your videos because of Axiom's End. No one understands those books like you guys. Look, the next one's going to come out next year, I think. It's
I'm
called,
so excited.
Oh, she announced it on Patreon the other day, and I forget what it is. But yeah, Monster Boyfriend. We need more representation.
Yes. Somebody says, I found you guys through Iron Widow. Thank you
I'm
for
sorry.
stopping by.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I saw These Violence Delight was like the first one that I liked and everyone else hated. Don't worry.
You single-handedly skewed the numbers for the book club a little bit, by the way, Icewilow, so you should be proud.
Oh wait, Angry Otter has a question. Why don't you want people watching the Iron Widow?
Oh, people leave really nasty comments.
We
got a ton of them.
In our first year after that video went up, so originally that video got like barely any views, but then all of a sudden it like just
it really
and it was just every day was just crappy comment after crappy comment, and a lot of them, and I've had issues with being nervous about this because a lot of them were going after William, saying like he was interrupting us, and
so weird.
And it's not that he was, it's just the way it came out in editing, but like people being like, let the girls talk, or saying, you know, like, oh, the white passing. It was just a lot of really, and the fact that I and Katie and I both didn't enjoy that book, but people were targeting William more so because, you know,
there was a very specific kind of person who really liked that book and did not like that there was criticism of it. And the thing is, one thing I should say is my moderation policy is that it's fine to disagree with us in a comment. It's even fine to be like a little spicy about it, but there is a difference between that and being rude and having a bad faith argument. And like, a lot of people were actually just saying racist stuff. And I was like, no, you can't do that. I'm sorry. Don't talk about how superior Asian people are to every other culture.
Or
what the heck? That's so bizarre.
Or us saying that like the way the feminism was portrayed in it was like unrealistic, or that like I had issues with how it was portrayed. Because like, and so instead of people being like, they would just see that and be like, you think feminism is bad, and I'm like, oh man, guys, you really didn't. And part of it is like people don't watch all the way through, and then like you could see the people that did watch all the way through but just were taking everything
very personally
out of context. So it was a rough video, and it made me very nervous. Like, we actually once had an issue in our Children of Blood and Bone review where I was afraid, because Will didn't like that book for a lot of legitimate reasons, but I was really nervous that he was going to get a lot of hate for his dislike. And it was such a huge relief when a bunch of people were like, yeah, no, the world building sucked. It was very paper thin. And I felt so much better afterwards. But like, I still sometimes, when there is a book, like I was nervous about Song of Achilles, just because that gave me so much anxiety of people just taking us at like the worst and just leaving really shitty comments. But Song of Achilles also, like, again, a lot of people who liked that book.
We've never really had that problem again, which is nice. Song of Achilles, we had like 3 or 4 comments, but even then, those were not as bad as the Iron. Like, I screen capped some of the Iron Widow videos just because I wanted to like remember some of them. But I mean, overall, we have curated such a good viewership, and I'm really proud of how much everyone really nice. Wants to look at books.
It is really nice. It's because I was really the very first time I was ever worried about anything was Fourth Wing. That was it. That was it. Really? That was the first one. That was the first one I was ever nervous about making. Like, and then as soon as we started it, I didn't give a shit. I just don't care about other people.
You're so funny. Again, I think
you guys obviously know that I do because I obsess over it. But it's like, I'm sorry, it's literature, it's art. Art's meant to be critiqued. And also just enjoyed in general. Well, it's fine.
I think Angry Otter was talking about this in one of the live streams. Oh, hey, Space Goats! I didn't know you could give money on these. Thank you.
Oh my God,
for
what?
the $2. Ooh,
and $5 from Jamie.
Spicy.
I appreciate that you're honest and see things that the rest of BookTube seems to be blind to. Also, I did want to highlight, Sabrina says, I don't remember why I found you guys, but I stayed for Hyperion, and I only wish they were longer and included the sequels. The book rants have kept me since. Keeps me entertained while I paint. I will say, we will do the second one because I love the first duology. The 3 and 4, probably not as... No, I am not doing it. I'm not doing it. I refuse, Julia.
I really want to do more books like those, it's because we had such a good time breaking down stuff. And it was so much, like, there were so many layers to it because it's almost more like a classical book in that sense, where the themes are like multi layered and it's not just as simple as like fantasy romance fourth wing style. And
Well,
it's
that's
just
why
really
our
engaging.
Annihilation video took so long. Was because
Yeah,
there
I
was so much to
really,
break down.
oh my God, I wish so bad I had better recording stuff at that time. That kills me.
It didn't end up as bad as I thought. You don't understand. While I was editing it, I was like, if this was any other book, I would just not edit this. This is painful because I kept having to change everybody's audio levels manually. But so, Coffee Goblin said, I read Iron Widow thinking that I would like it, but found myself being uncomfortable and not knowing why. Watching your videos about it helped me figure out what that was. I
That's
think
cool.
that's, you know, because one thing I think, again, I think Angry Otter said this on a live stream at one point, was that, you know, it's kind of a curse that, like, once you start really looking at books, you can't enjoy them as uncritically. And I think that's true, but I think you also gain an ability to understand yourself and understand the beauty in books when they are there. I don't think I would understand the things that I like about Annihilation as much if I heard my name, but I don't know why, so I'm confused. Angry Otter, you're always around. I think you gain an ability when you analyze books to again appreciate things that do work, and I think just in general knowing things and knowing things about yourself is good. And so I hope that we can do that for people. Again, it's
Yeah.
one of my saddest things about
Oh,
book
look at
talk.
Maria.
Yeah,
is
people
that-
people are gonna make me cry. Somebody said y'all care so much about the craft. You guys remind me why I love literature
wow.
so much, guys. Ooh, I'm too.
Her makeup is not waterproof. You do not want to see her without makeup.
I'm not wearing
is what I'm
mascara,
saying.
thank God.
I'm not wearing makeup today at all. So
Oh,
I
also
know.
thank you, Stephen.
Stephen, nothing profound to say. I'm just enjoying the videos you
Aw,
all
thank you.
create. Thank you so
Thanks.
much.
You don't have to have anything
Oh,
profound to
goddamn
say. We're just reading stuff, so it's fine.
Um,
Oh wow.
Keeves had, you guys are so funny. No, it is again, it's bizarre being like, people think I'm a real, like, they really take my opinion. You don't understand, for my entire life, for 32 years, people were like, oh God, are you gonna ruin the movie again? And I'm like, yes, why?
That's
And
Will's
so-
MO.
It's so weird, people being like actually caring really what I think, and it's very it's very I really like it. You guys are the best. Okay, so but to keep them from crying, we're gonna go back
Yes,
to
back to the revenue.
Also, as a small side note, I do want to just say that if it weren't for the podcast, I hadn't read a book in ages. I'd been reading a whole bunch of fan fiction, as Maria knows, but then I got into a relationship with my then boyfriend, and I was healing emotionally from childhood trauma. So I didn't have time to read things that made me happy anymore because I was too busy addressing things that were more like immediate. And if it weren't for this podcast, I don't think I would be exploring so much of this stuff as I 100% would not be. And I'm so glad that I get to be part of a community that's just like my college years, which is the most joyful parts of my life. So thank you, Will.
You know, it's
It
funny.
really is.
I'm
Thank
the
you.
same way. I originally wanted to get more into reading because I noticed it really helped with my writing. Ironically, I have no time to write now. But it's interesting because I don't remember what it was, but it was a video.
Holy fuck!
It's Uyu. I don't know what that is in I love the advance, particularly when they review AuthorTube stuff. But now I'm scared you'll review a book I love and tear it to pieces. I know, but
we always
you know,
try to be kind.
you know, sometimes we're kind to books
What
a
is
lot more than
Uyu?
I think people realize. One of like me and Katie talked about Salt and Sorrow, but like we really liked the horror in that. I have one of her other books set up because people have talked about for the future because people have talked about how they found that to be more horror focused. And so, you know, I think even in books you don't like, you understand. It's funny because we're reading Akawar now, and having read Fourth Wing, I have a different view of it now. And again, I think that's the valuable thing about having read a ton of books. Not a good view. Just to be
Interesting.
clear, Katie.
Interesting.
Having read a lot of books, you're able to reference other books. So you're able to be like, oh, you know, this character didn't talk a lot, and that caused a muted characterization. But in Scorpio Races, they were able to do that with Sean, and like, what are the differences there? And that's one of the there is an author, I'm just not going to say which, who talks about how she doesn't read other books, really. She just likes to write. And it shows in her writing because her writing tends to be very one-dimensional. You have to have a lot of different... you need to know the field around you to get an idea of what's going on and be able to draw from more things. Okay.
Yeah. I need to
300
understand.
Uyu is like $3 apparently. 'Cause
But that's
it's
really
very-
cool.
very good
Thank you
Oh, that's
nonetheless.
amazing.
No, still,
But-
yeah.
But no,
No.
I want to know what the hell that means, though. We need to actually understand how this chat works.
What do you
Oh
mean?
no! What they're doing is they're giving money so that the comment shows up in a special color, and so we'll see it. And usually, live streamers are like, "Oh, thank you for that, however much." And then
No,
they
I
talk
know,
about
but
it.
what's the? But I'm just confused. I guess what does UYU stand for?
It's Uruguayan
peso.
peso.
Oh, interesting. How did you know? Did you just know?
No,
No, he
somebody
said it
put
in
it
the
in
chat.
a comment.
Oh, I missed it. Okay, never mind.
So, I've seen a couple of questions. One just went by. Somebody said, "Are you ever going to do Agatha Christie?" I would like to. I like mystery novels. Someone just said, "Will you guys ever cover like horror books? It's my favorite genre." That'll be
Will
the
and
two
I
of
will.
them. That'll
Will
be
and
the
I
two
will.
of them. It ain't for
We
me.
keep trying, and we keep not having very good books, but we've also only tried like 3 times. So, but yeah, no, I would eventually like to do some more. I read one, and I was like, "Oh, we could do this for a podcast," but it wasn't that good. It was The Depth by the guy who did The Troop, which everybody says
I
we
still
should
want to
do,
do
and
that. Yes.
I don't want to do that. I don't want to see a bunch
Why?
of kids dying. Like it just sounds so depressing.
But
You know
but
what it
it's-
is? I don't like non-supernatural horror because to me it's like, oh, there's no twist. Like it can only get a certain amount of like there's not a mystery to it. I don't know why, but okay. All right. Okay, we got to get back to this.
Yes, Back
Okay.
to the
Top
numbers.
videos.
Board
Pretty
meeting.
much what you would think. Again, our channel was really built upon the Bloody Remains of the Savior series, and it's corollary. Cyber Tinker. Again, Lightlock did weirdly good. I think just because it came out at the right time. Okay, so the way we're gonna do this is we have books by toast level.
Ah!
I broke these up into. By the way, anyone wondering, I'm using Canva, not TierMaker, because TierMaker is not as good. I broke these up into 3 rows. These are ones that Katie mostly did with. Oops, hold on. These over here are Katie did with only one of us. These are the ones all 3 of us did together. And then these are the ones that me and Maria did. So I don't know what order we necessarily want to do them in, but I figure we could go like back and forth between them. Hold on, I gotta find
That
it.
sounds good. Also, side note, shoot, I just died. Oh my god.
Shot through the heart.
Hi. And while you die, I'm going to answer a question. Someone, Brittany says, will you guys do middle grade? There are some absolutely delightful MG books out there that give off big Studio Ghibli vibes. We actually did one. I'm pretty sure the video got posted.
Which one?
No, Left-Handed Booksellers of London.
Oh, it hasn't been posted yet.
Oh, so we read Garth Nix's Left-Handed Booksellers of London, which absolutely feels like a middle grade book, and it definitely has some like Studio Ghibli vibes. And so that is one, and I really enjoy those. Like I like to imagine if I have a niece or nephew, what books I would give them to read. Katie, have you remembered what you were going to say?
I did. Actually, Maria and I, funnily enough, Maria and I read a Harry Potter book, romance novel.
God, we
but
have
it's
to
not
do that.
Yeah, but it's not Harry Potter. It's like pretend Harry Potter. But
It
it's
was-
basically Harry Potter.
I think it was Magical Girl Shauna who nominated it for
Yeah,
book club,
and
and
it's it's Harry and it's Draco,
Draco.
basically, and Draco's like a vampire. And there's all this stuff, and I've already read the whole damn thing, but we just haven't done the video.
yeah, no, we have to. We just have to put it on the schedule because I think that one would be really fun. Anyway,
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
yes,
carry
carry
on.
on. That was it.
Carry on.
Yeah, Katie and Maria, I have the plan to do some gay books because they like those. And I can read like the X-Wing series by Aaron Elsner. Okay, so let's go ahead and start. So we have 3 levels. We have 5 levels. By the way, when I was doing the one for the patrons, they actually demanded a 6th one because they hated 4th Wing so much.
That they
which is
needed
very
a
funny.
separate category.
Under Soggy, they made me add Moldy, but for us, we're gonna be doing Crisp, which is when we love a book. Crunchy when it's good, but you know, like it's a missing that like X factor that turns it into a great book. Lukewarm when like it's fine, but they're like it's uninspired and there's something kind of like missing from it. Then Burnt when it's bad, and then Soggy when it's awful.
Painful.
That sounds accurate, right, guys?
Yeah, we're definitely the Burnt and Soggy. I think we're gonna have some differing opinions as far as what gets to go.
I mean, so technically, the way we do this is the most accurate way would for each of us to rate it 1 to 3 and then have 9 rankings, but that's too complicated.
No.
So we're just gonna do it this way. Okay,
And
so
we'll pistolas it out. It's fine.
Light Lark, what do you think, Maria?
So I'm gonna say that can we put it in between level? So like Lightworker is one of those where I think it definitely did not deserve the amount of hate. Like I did not think it was as bad as Fourth Wing, but it definitely wasn't good, and it was like.
I agree, especially with some of the others that are going to be in.
But
Soggy.
the romance was just so much better, like between her and the Sun King guy. Like it was just so much better. So I would put it in Burnt. For me,
Burnt. I think Burnt. Yeah, that's actually where I was going to put it. Again, it's not good, but it's not awful on the level of some of the other awful books we've read. Katie.
I side note read the first 6 chapters of Lightlark, and I would agree.
Not Maggie, not soggy with butter. Soggy like it got damp. No. Like somebody put water on your toast,
or someone pissed on it. You know.
No. We're just gonna go with the water on the toast.
We're just gonna go with what? Yeah, condensation. Also, Shane says, I absolutely love that your channel is all toast because of the Tobias joke Maria made. It's funny. I was rewatching that. It's just a joke she made. Yep. Like it's just a thing she said once, and it became a meme on our channel, and it's so. It funny.
Does. It's because
Maria also uses it every day in normal life. So our work that when Maria still worked with me, our coworkers would start using some dumbass terminology like that.
It's so the way I infect or like the chalky pill time. Anyway, we're not going to go into that.
Extra stressy depressy is also fun.
Yes, extra stressy depressy.
Okay, not good for maidens, Katie. What are you thinking?
God damn, that's hard. I would say burnt to lukewarm.
Yeah, so we're already running into a problem where it's not. No,
it's lukewarm. Burnt. It's lukewarm.
No, I'm gonna say burnt because, like, remember how boring it was? Remember how little narrative tension there was?
The problem is I don't know what the comparison is with Lightlark in particular, but I would, in general, if you hadn't done Lightlark just now, I would have said burnt.
Yeah, let's put it in burnt. I think that's probably the most intellectually honest.
Because the problem is that it had no oomph to it. It was not fun to read. Once I got about halfway through, it was like a responsibility.
Yeah, this one, by the way, guys, is the one with like the goblin market at Salisbury Fair. It's not Salisbury.
Salisbury.
It's it's that one Simon and Garfunkel song. Anyway, with like the Fae goblin people who ended up being really boring, and the problem is that there are 2 different storylines that alternate between the past and the present, and the past breaks all the tension for the present.
The world is completely empty too. Do you remember how we had an issue with that? Yeah. Like the goblin world was completely empty and the market just sold like human body pieces.
That's exactly what it was. It was so boring. One of my favorite lines I've ever said is like, guys, the real world has like LSD. Like, why are you going to the goblin market?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's lame. Like, the real world is cool. And so, like, yeah, no, the narrative tension was the big problem there, I found. And also, she was really into her cousin.
It was the incest book, Swally.
Yeah. That was a weird.
Yeah, she was kind of in love with her cousin, her Indian cousin, right?
Yes. Yeah. And the problem was that the way she thought about her cousin like was supposed to be very platonically close, I think, but she kept thinking about her body and how pretty she was. And so it was very odd and not in a hot way.
And she described her in ways that were like the love of my life type of thing.
Yeah, oh yeah, she would explicitly say that.
Wild.
Yeah, Malice. What do we think?
Oh god. Lukewarm.
At best. Yes, it would be
what happens in Malice? What happened?
So we do need a couple of people have asked if we could do little synopses. Malice was a lesbian retelling of Sleeping Beauty, told from the point of view of the like Maleficent character, and the problem was the world wasn't as fleshed out as it needed to be. It had this whole like these magical girls that had been, because they're of a thing that happened in the past, the Fae gave that some girls had like cotton candy colored hair and could do magic, and it just like how that fit into the whole system wasn't really great. And like
cotton candy color, why?
Like some people had like purple, like pastel purple hair. Some people had rose, like light rose. and then our main character wasn't one of those, but she could use magic, but it was like dark bad magic, and so she got like a cellar in like one of the houses where these ladies worked, and then she fell in love with the princess, and the romance just ended up being meh. It was kind of
the book would be so much better without one scene, and that's the sex scene, which was really gross for some reason that I don't quite remember.
I would have liked it if they just had not like the romance was just so flat. Like it felt so informed, and I liked some of the other stuff she was dealing with outside of the romance, and then you just lose all of it. And at the end of
it ended strong, I thought, because it ended
so
in this bizarre, partly just because the audiobook actor
narrator
went so hard. Like her voice literally just transformed into evil over time as it became more intense. And that I really liked. So let's go move it to lukewarm. I think is correct. I could see people enjoying it too. If we like when we were younger, I could see both of us enjoying it.
Yeah.
As a side note, if you guys haven't already, a similar story is The Sleeper and the Spindle, and it's by Neil Gaiman. And there is an illustrated.
Has he written stuff?
What?
The guy you just said, is he an author?
Oh, maybe.
Get out of here.
But yeah, there's also a version that's an illustrated like storybook, and it's really, really good, and I highly recommend it. Anyway, continue.
Okay, so let's do who wants to try to describe the 7.5 Lives of Evelyn Hardcastle?
Okay. So the 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle is a mystery book that is set up a little bit initially a la an Agatha Christie, like as far as setting, like we're in a manor in the like British countryside. The manor, it's got like a gothic, like the manor's falling apart, but it's beautiful and it's decrepitness kind of thing. And the conceit of the book is the main character doesn't actually know who he is, but every day is getting put into the body of a different person in who was at the manor that day. And there is a murder at the end of the night, and he needs to figure out who killed Evelyn Hardcastle. And because the main character doesn't actually know who he is and is in a different body, and the bodies exert forces of personality on him, you're never really sure who your main character is. And the book tries to have like a through line of things that he does consistently, but it just doesn't work as well. So you're a bit distant.
Doesn't.
And for me, I started the book thinking it was going to be about an old man solving a mystery, and I was so excited.
I think the other problem with it was that, the actual mystery stuff was very good, but the framing device that ended up being why he was skipping from body to body was very dumb.
It's not as exciting.
Yeah.
Again, I think it would have made such a better video game. Like that would have been so good going through the same time period again and again as different characters.
Like
you would like the female character mostly because she was just a nice presence to have, whereas in a book you want more depth from them.
Yep.
Yeah. There's a game called It's a Cthulhu
The Room
dark
or something like that.
Well, that too. The one we played together.
Yeah.
Yes. Basically,
there's
like
one called The Sexy Brutale where you do a similar thing, but
there's a game. I forget. I'm forgetting what it's called. It's something about a song or something. But it's
Outer
about
Wilds.
No, it's
Outer Wilds is one where you live through the same 20 minutes over and over again.
Let her finish her thought.
Go ahead. There's apparently a lot of games that do this.
No, it's a Cthulhu Mythos-esque game, and you play several characters, and each one, when they die forever. And you only have a select number of characters, and if you die with all of them, then you just lose the game, and then you have to start all the way over, and there's several chapters. Anyway, that has the same vibe as this book. Anyway, I would put this in lukewarm to crunchy.
It should have been a crunchy. It really could have even been crisp, but the ending really destroyed it for me. Like I don't think it ever could have been crisp based on the lack of emotionality and connection to the main character. But it could have been crunchy. But that ending,
I'm gonna agree. Let's put it in lukewarm. I think if that makes sense, because it has really good things and really bad things more than it being uninspired. So it can't be crunchy, but it's not worth being burnt either.
Yeah, it's not.
Side note, this is the one that has like that one really weird scene where there's like weird description of fat.
Oh God,
yeah, that was so weird.
I hated that scene so much. It made me so uncomfortable. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go with Sweet Dreams Are Made of Teeth.
Oh, Maggie, yes, it is Song of Horror.
Burnt. It
Yeah.
had enough good stuff that I wouldn't say soggy, but it definitely wasn't lukewarm.
This is the one about a nightmare wolf
Oh,
who
yes.
like is on a job and like he interacts with a lot of like other psychopomp and like mental characters who go into dreams. It's not really worth going into because the plot was super complicated and didn't make a ton of sense.
It-
But yeah, I think Burnt
The one
is
that you
correct.
guys said that was like the one oh fuck, what's his name? The something the killer, Jeff the Killer.
Yes.
That one. It also had the weird like
Oh god, weird
sex-
imagery.
Yeah,
Yes.
and like
I did
stuff
not
with
love
like
that.
young thighs, which I did not like. And it did have some good things, which is why it's burnt over soggy, but it was a wild ride.
Yeah, I did not. That was weird. Okay, Katie, do you want to explain this next one?
Okay. So we have a good set of characters that are all immediately assassinated throughout the plot. We have
No.
really
This is the first one. This is the first one.
yeah. Well, I'm comboing it a little, I guess. So let me
We're gonna
backtrack.
do
No.
Yeah,
we-
since there's a second one, let me backtrack.
Okay.
So this one, now that I think of it, this one, I really think it's not as good as the second one. I'm sorry to say. I know you guys don't agree with me, I think. But the William.
Katie,
The reason
I'm not sure why I
think-
brought you onto this podcast. I'm gonna be real.
the
You're
thing
making
is-
me question it.
The thing is there's one thing the second book has that this doesn't. And that's a really kick-ass set of action sequences that I really enjoyed, specifically when they were in the sea realm. But anyway, so girl fairy world that is a little weird. It's because like there's like a wall that's not a wall, and it kind of seems kind of like not fleshed out, honestly, the way the world is. And then also the world that the girl lives in is like super like peasanty, but then also once she goes back and revisits her family, it's kind of like weirdly like England Victorian-y.
Mhm.
And anyway, she goes to Fey Realm, falls in love with Dude with Mask. Dude with Mask is super hot, actually. Who knew? And also is super powerful, but bound by curse. Really hot, sexy, bitchy girl wants him to whip out dick for her. Won't do. Main character saves him by getting horny.
I'm
And
not
she
even.
ends up dying.
I'm not even sure what happened there, but yeah, basically it's Sleeping Beauty by way of Tamlin, but not as cool as either story.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna be controversial here, and I'm gonna say Burnt, because I don't like this book and I don't think it's good, but I don't think I think you could read this and like it if you are into
I'd say burned.
the vibe, and I think there are things that kind of work about it at times.
I'd say
What do you
burned.
think?
The thing is you guys put the 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle in lukewarm, which means this has to be below it just about.
Yeah.
On fun level of reading it though, I have to say, like for me personally, it straddles the line between lukewarm and burned.
Okay, fair.
What do you think,
But I'd
Rania?
say burnt. I'd say burnt. So I definitely don't think it's soggy. Having read some actual soggy stuff, I don't think it's soggy. And
It's not
again,
soggy.
I think that people can enjoy it. I think my views of these books are always going to be skewed because of just how, for me personally, painful they are to like the core of my being. As like,
I am actually beginning to get kind of. I was telling Maria because we're reading Akawar, and I'm getting kind of grossed out by girls who like those books. I'm gonna be real. Like it's beginning to be kind of weird to me that people like those.
You know what?
And I'm sorry if you're like that, but it is a red flag.
It's fine. Wait, what? Court of Thorns and Roses?
Really
whole
more the
series.
sequel. Yeah, more the sequel and those kinds of books. And I'm just like, this is gross, guys. Like, and the thing is, it's okay for them to be. I'm gonna go into a whole rant about how like it's okay for women to be weird, but not men. But anyway, we're gonna skip that. Instead, we're gonna talk about a book that I think Maria, you and I should just say right off the bat where this is going.
crisp as all get out. It's
AF.
mwah, 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 mwah. Crispy as all get out.
This is an older YA book by Garth Nix about a necromancer girl. And the things I loved, because sometimes I just sit and think about how much I like this book, especially the end half with the battle and stuff. I mean, has the best action sequence we have read in this book club to this point. It's built up so well, and there's so much intensity in it. I love how active the main character is. I really like his prose. And it's a tight book too.
It is.
Almost nothing is wasted.
It has a fantastic pace. It's really like the scope is so tight, and just it's telling the story it wants to tell. Nothing feels superfluous. Now, we did have some of our patrons say that the main character, she was too distant. They struggled caring for her, and I completely get that, because it is written in a more distance, like the closeness to the character is a bit back. So I completely get that. But for me, like I enjoyed it more on this read than I did when I was younger, which was just super surprising, for like just crisp, fantastic. Amazing.
One way I described it is that usually with bad books, I'm trying to convince you it is a bad book, but that you don't necessarily need to dislike it. In this review, I went in trying to prove that this is a good book, but you don't necessarily need to like it. And I think that, because I do get people who are just like, the main character's a little bit distant, and maybe they're not super here for the tone. But Garth Nix for me is such a bamf. Okay.
Wait, side note. I remember when I was younger and I was in the elementary school library and I saw Sabriel on the I was gonna say the casket. What the hell? On the shelf. I remember thinking to myself, that's a really cool, mature looking cover. And then I started reading it and I was like, this book is too good for me. And I put it back. And I remember in high school seeing it on the library shelf where I was volunteering, and I remember being like, oh yeah, that book was too good for me. And then I picked it up and I started reading, and I was like, it's still too good for me. And then I put it back. it just like, I didn't want to read something that heavy when I was that young. I wanted to read shitty fan fiction. So
that makes sense. I enjoyed it so much more as an adult than as a kid. Like, I liked it as a kid. I simp for it hard now, this reading. Okay. Katie, how would you describe this next one?
Literally like one of the best books we've read to date on the channel.
So this is I decided instead of all three, I mean, we're gonna do them as all three instead of separately. Yeah. Because I think it makes sense to consider them as a unit.
I would agree. So this, like Maria had mentioned this a couple years ago to me and described the one scene that we like went over for ages and how it creeped her out. And I thought, oh my God, like I saw the movie when it came out and I thought it was like, nah. It like, because there's a certain vibe. I know, like unbiasedly, I guess it's kind of good or something, but I personally, there's a certain formula to it that whenever I watch a movie that has that formula, I get kind of angry, actually. But anyway, this book series it literally became my new favorite book series. It is now what little lingered of tithe from my childhood has now been completely erased by Annihilation. It has been annihilated by Annihilation.
Oh, the theme of regrowth. I will say that for those who don't know, it's about a place called Area X that has like some weird alien, maybe reality warping thing, and it's about a woman who goes in, who is just never really named. The closest we get is they call her the biologist. And I would like to say that we have the most comprehensive, and we need to be a full screen for this. We have the most comprehensive literary analysis of it on the internet and probably in literature as well. Our two videos on it, nobody watched, but they are the most comprehensive literary breakdown of it. And I like our Hyperion is our biggest breakdown of Hyperion online in terms of literary analysis. I'm very proud of it. We really, I think, went into it and really broke down what it was about. And
even on
I'm proud of
shitty audio from
it's one of my favorite videos we've recorded this year, just because it was some of the best like it just had so much meat to bite into, because sometimes we like stuff but it's just like, yay, we liked it, here's what it did well. But with this one, it had a lot to look into, and it also had epistolas where Katie and I loved the whole thing the whole way through, and it hit all the sweet spots and was just incredible. And for Will, as the series went on, it got objectively for him weaker, subjectively weaker. And
I'm in a rough spot here, and I'll be honest, because the way this works is I would put it in crisp, but my problems make me I should put it in crunchy, right? Like those.
Okay,
subtracts
no,
make. But no, I think it should go in crisp. I like
It
the
should.
thing. And guys, you know from that video, or you don't if you haven't watched it, that like I had we went hammer and tongs. Like that was
Yeah.
probably the biggest pistolas we've had,
this year,
maybe ever. The only other
no,
one is the
Murderbot.
oh god.
I loved, and you know what's unfortunate? Don't forget to include me on Murderbot. It's because I actually read all the books. I just didn't get to record.
Yeah, anyway, but the things this book does, it does so well, and I find valuable that because the horror is on point, the metaphors are on point, the prose are so beautiful and crisp, that I think I think crisp is the only place we can put it.
Lindbergh says
Annihilation
Annihilation
is
is
crisp.
crisp. Don't you dare. Damn it.
No.
Don't you dare put it in crunchy, William.
Again,
Also,
I think
I love there's an entire population of people on the internet who call you William, all because I started calling you William in this podcast when you were being sassy, and I needed and now now I call you William more. Like, guys, his family doesn't call him Will or William.
all right, lore time. My family, and I was homeschooled, so the vast majority of my life till I got to college, people called me Papo. It's a Spanish nickname, usually from Cuba, even though I'm not Cuban. I'm Colombian. So that is my name, is Papo. That's what I consider my name. But I got to college and people would say like Will, and so I became Will. And so like now Williard. And so yeah, no. Katie and Maria call me Will though, and so yeah, no. William is now. I'm fine. Again, that's like my white name. You know what I mean? Like my true name, my soul.
No, that's
name.
you're making a poor decision, William. You need to rethink your thoughts, William.
It's funny because now it's just become something that I use, and like now I don't just use it in that setting, and it's just funny seeing how it gets or how like in the Temeraire video how you kept getting confused when I called William.
Yes.
Yeah, it was so funny. But anyway,
no, the real one. If you want to make my heart skip and get scared, you call me Guillermo. Because that is the Spanish version of William, and that's what my mom calls me when she's mad. So that's the one that really scares me. But yeah, no. So yes, crisp. I think that's really the only place it could go.
Yes.
It does what it does well.
that was one of the only ones I was prepared to fight for. I'm glad that went easy.
Oh wait,
and
Annihilation is not my favorite book series. It is on par with one other series we're gonna talk about.
A Song of Ice and Fire, take a shot. Okay, and then Scorpio races, Maria. This is about carnivorous horses in Ireland and a race that happens.
I really missed out on this book.
You
didn't
did.
I?
Yeah.
Katie, it's one of the best. It's crisp. It's crisp. It's crisp. It has a beautiful romance. The main characters, it's one of the best examples of a like more emotionally withdrawn male character who doesn't come across as an asshole but has a deep internality to him.
So what you're telling me is I just need to read it.
You don't have to. I
You know what's funny is I own the Scorpio races, and then I also own Raven Boys, both because my photographer from my wedding and very good friend Alexa told me, Katie, you have to read this about a decade ago. And I was like, okay. And I still have her copies. They're still sitting right there.
Yeah, me and her talked about it at your wedding. It was really funny because I was listening to it on the way back from your wedding. Because that was the week we were doing it or whatever.
Oh, shit. Here, while you do this, I'm going to go get a shot.
The other thing is, because we'll also talk about Raven Boys later, which is another Maggie Svater book. But this one is so focused. And I think that's what really makes it work. It's one book. It's focused. And so it can kind of tell its themes. The world building is really subtle, but really great in little ways. They talk about like the grotto where they have the cave paintings of the old horses. I think it's crisp. Like
it's so crisp, and I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but I really like when the scopes of books are really tight and like it's telling one story. And because like a huge thing that happens nowadays and a huge problem for our channel is that we read a lot of the first books of things. So the scope is not encapsulated in the book. And unfortunately, as you guys should know, sequels do shit on this channel. So a lot of the times we don't have the luxury of being able to read the rest of the series to get the full scope of what the story is trying to say. And this book, it's just tight. It is fantastic. The romance, the side characters. One thing I will give Stefader is she writes side characters that are just so compelling, even if they're on scene, like in the scene for just a short amount of time.
Remember her, the aunts from Raven Boys? Those are such great characters.
Listen, I read all of those books. I'm waiting for the next one to come out. I will talk about it when we get there.
When you do, can you tell me when you do certain sequels? Because some of the books that you guys have done, I have read, but I just couldn't be part of the video.
Yeah.
So tell me, and if I'm interested, can I join you?
Yeah, one that you should do. I've read all of the Cruel Prince series.
Okay,
So I'd like to do that one. But anyway, so it's so good.
It's such a good book. It's such a good book. Katie is taking a shot, guys, so we're about to get drunk, Katie.
I have a lot of stuff to do today, so
Good luck.
Down the hatch.
Side note, everyone see that blur right there? That's a kimono.
Okay.
Maria and I bought that together.
Cultural
Japan.
appropriation. Okay.
No, it's vintage from World War II.
Canceled. All right. Speaking of the cruel, definitely maybe cultural theft in that case.
No, but it's a side note. It was actually really pretty. A little small, very tiny lore piece of Maria and I. When Maria and I were in Tokyo and we made the massive mistake of going there poor.
Don't go to Tokyo poor.
There's no point.
Don't be poor. Just FYI, I've been most of my life. Not a good experience.
Don't
not
go to
check that box again.
Just don't go to Tokyo if you can't spend as much money as you want. Otherwise, go to other cities. And Maria has plenty of suggestions if you're genuinely interested. Message her. Anyway, no, Maria and I were walking down Tokyo Street, going back to our
hostel.
What's it called? Yeah, thank you. Which was a really beautiful hostel.
It was a very nice hostel.
Yes, it was. And as we were walking, there's this itty bitty little alleyway, and there's these little fairy lights going down that way. And at the end is this old fashioned looking shop.
It was kind of scary. Like we were like,
yeah, it was.
Are we gonna die down this like tiny, like just tiny? And it's like I'm getting spirited away. Like this is how I go.
Yeah,
and we go down, and it was a little vintage shop that had kimonos, vintage like other vintage clothing,
and it was like a puzzle
stuff.
house. Like these little stairs went up and down, and like these little it was such a bizarre house. Anyway, fascinating experience. Continue.
Lindbergh says, "Are you ordering the books in each category? Could be cool to place the best."
I would like to do that.
I think once we break it down a little bit more, and if we have time, I did that for the book club books that people ranked because I actually did numbers and math. Take a shot for me, Katie. No, don't get her more drunk.
Katie, you've gotten Max and Lindbergh have complimented your dress.
Yes.
Thank you. I am wearing it today to make sure I'm actually this has two things. One, Maria and I were of the same mind. We're like, anniversary. Let's dress up for our anniversary for our husband, our waifu audience. Channel. And then the second was, is this comfortable enough? Because I'm about to go to a wedding and I want to make sure it's comfortable before I go to the wedding.
By the way, we're at like 138 viewers.
Holy
Craziness.
shit, I didn't even look.
Yeah, crazy.
Hi guys, thanks for being here. That's amazing.
Okay, so this next one, all three of us read, but only me and Katie did the video because Maria doesn't care about you guys. And so it is The Cruel Prince, which is basically like there's a girl who grows up in fairyland, and then there's a boy who like bullies her, but he's hot. And one thing I did like about this book is the hot boy isn't really so much. He's like kind of a loser. Like at least in the first book, he's just kind of a loser, and I ended up liking that twist of like, no, he's not hot and dangerous. He's just kind of good looking and a loser.
Hey, everyone, Maria and Will look beautiful too. Oh wait, wrong. There you go.
Ruggedly handsome.
Thank you.
Side note, I almost forgot what this book was. Like, as you were saying it, I was like, oh God, hopefully he does the synopsis and doesn't ask me because I can't fucking remember what it's about. I would say this is lukewarm.
I agree. What do you think,
Yeah,
Maria?
I would say lukewarm. It's definitely the weakest of the three. The second book is so much better, and at best, the second book would go in crunchy. I wouldn't put it in crisp. For me, parts of this were very painful, and so for me personally, I would put it halfway between Bert and lukewarm. But I think lukewarm is perfectly acceptable.
I think also because other people might like it more based off of how it went. Yeah, for me though, like I was kind of bored by it, and I didn't love the lack of. And it's weird because I think the author Holly Black is really good at stuff, but this
Yeah.
doesn't really take advantage of it. Are you gonna do a video for Elected the Ninth when it comes out? Oh, fuck
Duh.
yes. We're
Fucking-lutely.
actually
I'm waiting.
we're gonna be redoing Gideon before that comes out because
Yep.
we don't know who, but somebody's audio didn't record well for the original
William.
version. We did it,
It
and we
was-
don't. Oh wait,
the aggression in
William.
his voice.
we don't
It
know
was
who.
William.
Again, something happened with the audio, and we'll end up redoing it. We may have to get Mistress Sapphire on that one.
I'm pretty
Um,
fucking stoked about that because that is indeed my second favorite series, and it's in tie with Annihilation, which is completely different from Annihilation.
Yeah, it really is. All right, Left-Handed Booksellers of London. This is one that the video has not come out for. It is another Garth Nix books. It is basically about like London book ninjas who are like dealing with a slightly supernatural world under the veneer of London. So they're like goblins and stuff. But
What
like, the
era is
goblins-
it?
The actually 1980s. It like
Yeah.
weirdly for some reason he picked that era specifically. What do you think, Maria? Because I
would
would
say-
put this. You go first.
Crunchy.
Yeah,
Really?
I think
Yeah.
so too. I think this is our first Crunchy, because it does a lot of things right, but it didn't like blow me away.
And as far as like a middle grade, because this is a book I was referring to earlier when I said it, I definitely would consider this middle grade. I don't know if it's technically considered middle grade, but it Guillermo
That-
is so fucking regular.
Guillermo is so fucking regular. You know that warring emotions there. You know,
Yeah, I know. I was gonna say what two
Like,
emotions.
I'm in trouble, but also I'm hot. It's weird.
It's like
Uh,
it's like a kink almost. You should be called Guillermo
Oh,
more often by your lovers.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
Eh.
Back to booksellers. It has a lot of good, and it's a really like again scope wise. It also has what apparently is my new favorite trope in children's literature, which is the main characters during the big bad confrontation are like, we're gonna let the adults handle the majority of this, and I love that. I love that. You're babies. Go do baby.
Hey,
things.
thanks for the 5, Taylor.
Yeah,
Woohoo!
thank you,
Finally
Taylor.
awake for one of these streams. Here's to another year of great videos. Thanks. It should be good. Well, we're hoping we have some good. We have some good ones planned, I think, and then also a lot of bad ones, unfortunately. But you guys.
Maggie keeps coming up with different like names for this, and it's killing me right now.
Game of Paul Blown's Mall Thrones. Yeah, very funny.
Anyway, continue.
Yeah, so I think Crunchy is correct.
Yes.
And now let's do. Let's do House of Salt and Sorrow. That was one me and
Oh.
Katie just finished. Where would
Lukewarm.
you put that?
Lukewarm
Um,
or crunchy, depending. Because the problem is like, as somebody previously mentioned how much they liked this book or how much they liked our review of this book, there's some really amazing aspects to this, specifically the horror. There's some really goddamn good writing, but as a whole product, it's not good
Yeah.
enough and it doesn't come together. So I'd say lukewarm.
yeah, this is like an Edgar Allan Poe inspired version of the 12 Dancing Maidens. But the problem is that the two sides never really meshed. It's about a girl who lives by the sea and like 4 of her sisters have died.
Oh,
and then it's
truth
like
hurts.
it's a creepy lukewarm. Yeah, I gotta be honest because I would tend to put it in between lukewarm and burnt. So if you're thinking lukewarm and crunchy, I think lukewarm is where to put this.
Yeah, 100%. I could see that. I think that's solid. I
think
probably was
lukewarm
giving it
is-
a little
is
too
fine.
much. I'm just thinking about all the highs of it, and I just feel like there's so much skill in the highs that I think it was like almost worthy of some crunchy moments. But that's true because as a whole, it didn't work out like the
I
other
found
ones.
that a lot of books I am more appreciative of in retrospect because you
Retrospect.
kind of tend to forget the reading experience of it. And so, yeah, I tend to think about the horror moments of this and like it, but as a whole, it was not very good.
No.
And speaking of not very good, Maria, what's the next book?
I read half of this, so I can
Okay.
be part of this. I say burnt or soggy.
Burnt. Oh god, there was some things, especially the first like fourth, were good. Like, and I was interested in what was happening, and then I just like once the like conceit of it being a retelling of a Chinese emperor's origin story, but if it was a woman, and like the things it was trying to do with gender for me didn't hit. I wanted it to be more like the character was a woman pretending to be a man, and I really wanted it to feel very non-binary or more trans in its where like this became how but it just didn't get there. And like the fisting scene, like why did you write that? I
So-
don't understand why you wrote that.
Yes, this is She Who Fisted the Sun. I hated this book. It's written in a really lovely way for the first third, and then the second 2/3 get like kind of purpley. There's a ton of gender essentialism going on that I don't love.
Yeah.
Mostly through laziness on the author's part. It it really felt like the author wanted to write this really high concept story and then didn't actually know how to put in the fundamentals. We often talk about how I like the mind powers in Dune when they make sense. Katie, can you stop doing that when we're talking?
Yes.
People can read the chat if they're interested. I like the mind powers in Dune when they're explained and they're people being very smart, and I don't like it when it's magic with more steps. And pretty much all of the gender stuff in this is magic with more steps, and like fate is an actual power. So honestly, this has got to go in soggy.
Oh, 100% agreed. For what?
hate
For
this
the
book.
half that I read.
Yeah, I hate this book. It's so bad.
I read it while I was painting on my bedroom for the house that we bought. This house currently.
Yeah, you're doing a Feyre cosplay.
What?
You were painting. You were doing a Feyre cosplay.
Oh my
pretending
God!
you're
Shut
Feyre.
up! Jesus Christ. Fair enough though. No, but yeah, I was listening to this while I was painting over my boombox. Yes, I said boombox. It was a boombox. And I have to say it was so disengaging. Oh, Katie is tipsy, so cute. Yes, I am. I'm sorry. But anyway, it was so disengaging that I actually like. There's been very few books that I've like zoned out to, even when I'm multitasking. But it's one of them.
Yeah, Katie or Maggie says she got stumped. Funny, but also kind of gross with that book. Honestly, I found that book so awful. Like I hate it when authors think they're smart.
It was not fun. Sometimes a book isn't good, but it was fun and it entertained you. This was not one of those. And there were things I genuinely like, and the characters that were the most compelling got sidelined.
Yeah.
Like the eunuch guy, I'm blanking on his name, but his best friend and the best friend's brother. Like,
yeah, it was
that
so much more interesting.
So much more interesting. And like there was tiny moments where I was like, this writer could write a really, really good book. This just unfortunately, like, it felt like too much, too soon, you know?
It's also disappointing, I find, because authors who do have a spark of talent but then write high concept books that people praise a lot aren't going to write better books. Like, this author needs to really go back. Like, this book needed to be hammered so that the author went back and really rechanged how they write and think about things, and they're not going to because it got praised so much. The same Iron Widow problem. Okay, so Maria. Talking about this one. This is the 1920s. Really?
Ooh, really? What happened in this?
Okay, so this is the 1920s retelling of Romeo and Juliet in Shanghai, which should be incredible. I went into this going like, this is going to be great. That's an amazing, amazing setting. And it was doing a lot with like the two gangs. One was a Russian gang and one was a Chinese gang. And just like and I was like, how is this not going to be good? Well, number one, weird bug monsters that don't fit into the story and make people go insane. Like, it just totally was like a slap. Like, why did this have to be like supernatural? We didn't need that.
No, we came for gang politics and violence, and instead we ended up with some like dumb mystery about bugs. I hated
There was
this.
like a weird river monster that secreted bugs that made people go insane, and this one British guy who was an evil banker /
sounds like
merchant.
an anime.
Yeah, who's an evil merchant, he figured out how to use the bugs, and he unleashed them on the city so he could gain control because he was selling the antidote. And so that's how him and his father were going to make money. And also he was trying to he was kind of stalking the main character. And so you were like, this guy is obviously evil. And then at the end it was like, surprise, twist villain. And we were like, no, we knew that. Like, what are you doing?
There's like in the background, there's stuff about like the communists versus the nationalists versus the international bankers.
That's a lot of themes.
That would be fans. I really would like to do a rewrite of it, but we can't because Maria doesn't want to be canceled.
Yeah,
she's a
no,
wuss.
I'm not doing a rewrite of it.
Anyway, I'm gonna put it in soggy. I'm sorry, I hated this thing. It was literally one of the most painful books to read. It was so slow. I don't know why, but it was worse than Lightlark to me in terms of the actual reading experience.
Oh no, it was worse than Lightlark compared to Lightlark. At least had like a veneer of fun. This book was not fun.
Yeah, no, it's true, and and this book also takes itself really seriously, and I hated everything about it. Speaking of Poppy War, what do you think? This is by the way a retelling of Mao Zedong as a peasant Chinese girl. If you're noticing a weird habit of authors writing Asian characters who are morally ambiguous, historical figures, and then deciding to recontextualize them as poor peasant girls. Yes, this is like the fourth book like that we've read, and no, I don't know why they do this. It never makes sense. Yeah, go ahead.
It's a weird and also they're all fighting like there's a
Japanese
war
analogs?
or a revolution happening in all of them.
The thing is, people need to go back to action adventure. A lot of these books are so hard to write that like it's outside. Don't try to write a smart theme like gray villain or gray main character. You don't have the skills for it. It's going to be very clumsy.
So wait, if you could describe this book in 3 sentences, what would you say the summary is?
The summary is a girl who is very poor, and she is an orphan, ends up taking the merit exam to get into a really cool military school, and she gets through by grit alone. Like she's not actually that, like she doesn't have a photographic memory, but she studies hard and she goes to military school and she works hard, and there's this guy who can use fire and she ends up learning how to use fire magically, and then there's a war and there's the Japanese analog that comes in and does a heckin' massacre. Like that was a rough chapter to read. And then she's like, screw the Japanese analog. And then she releases a magical version of an atomic bomb on them.
And the problem is the Chinese releasing a magical version of a nuclear bomb is such a different context than the Americans releasing an actual bomb. Like and that's the thing is like when you change Mao Zedong to a peasant girl, you're changing a lot of things that change the contextualization of the actions. And so the problem for me is it did not work in this new story she was trying to tell, and also it's too YA for the context, the material involved. I would have put early in the year. I would have put this in Soggy. Now I'm leaning more towards Burnt just because I think my memory of it has faded, and it just like.
Also, I just think it's better than She Who Became the Sun. Like I recollected Poppy War more fondly. It also, this book has like 5 different arcs. There's like the school arc. There's the studying school arc.
Too many things problem.
There's the military arc. There's the I am now part of ninja group arc. There's like campaign, and then there's like
genocide arc.
Like it just has it's too many things. It should have been multiple books, and that way you could just delve into, because like everything feels like it's like as you're getting into used to it being like about a school setting. That's done. It's wartime, baby. Like, yeah.
Shame said, "Will you guys be reading the Iron Widow sequel?" No. The most we would do is read it and then only have it as a Patreon exclusive.
Yeah.
But I just don't. I don't know. I feel like it's important to stand up and say the truth about things in life, but also I just don't want to have to deal with bad comments on it.
But there's a difference between clout chasing and honesty sharing, and I feel like at this point that's clout chasing.
I don't know. I think there's a value to criticizing a book in a way that because the other thing is I think a lot of people feel like they don't like the book, but they don't know how to articulate it in a way that's not going to sound racist.
Fair. Yeah.
And so like because that's the thing is like Iron Widow, a lot of the problems with it, on the surface it would sound kind of bigoted, but like there are a lot of deeper problems going into that book that I think again articulate.
Okay.
In general, I think it's worth often having those, but like personally, I just don't want to have to deal with it. And I think our first video explained the problems quite well.
And I'm not confident that the second book is going to fix a lot of the Like if I read it and it did fix a lot of the problems and it was surprisingly a good experience, I would say absolutely let's do it on the channel. But it's one of those things where like we kicked that can down the road and just run after it and kick it again just for the
sounds like too much. It's like kicking a horse when it's down.
And I just don't think I think we would get a lot of like pushback if we didn't like that one as well. So I just would rather not do it.
Yeah. Okay, and then the next one is Noah the Ninth.
My favorite book of all time.
I would say
it's my favorite book of all time.
I don't know, guys. I don't know because I did have problems with it, but also like it's so good.
It's so good.
It's my favorite book of all time.
You can even see what's his face right there.
Chris.
So I would say it's Chris, but
Noodle is in the back.
Well, I will say Crisp, but when we rank them, I would put it lower than Harrow and Gideon
Yes.
as a ranking.
I
it gets away-
disagree.
We know.
I think structurally it has issues, but her writing is so good and
And
It
then
is
Sarah's
my
very
favorite
good.
book of all time.
Okay, well, I think Crisp is a correct place to put it.
Perfectly, yes.
Okay, I do think that's okay. All right, Dowry of Blood. This is like, what if the story of Dracula, but from the viewpoint of his brides, and they were lesbians. And
Was it really good?
polyamorous. No.
No.
You would think it
It
would
was
be.
lukewarm.
Yeah,
at
I
best.
think lukewarm is correct because it doesn't quite deliver on how good a premise that is. In
Yeah,
the
because that's a
actual
great
story.
premise.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
It's lukewarm at best.
That's
It has
lukewarm.
moments that are good, and then it just doesn't fully deliver.
Speaking of moments that fully deliver, we have Dark Lord of Dirkholm by Diana Wynne Jones.
Yeah, I have no point in this.
Chris,
Or no
Chris.
point.
Crisp.
Crisp.
It's such a good deconstruction of fantasy tropes. It's so smart in terms of how she writes family. She writes in such a nice way. It's one of the few times that I think an author handles multiple viewpoints really well that we've read at all. Everyone should read it. Nobody will because she's an old author, but she is like my OG author favorite.
It's a great book, and as a little summary, it is about tourism negatively affecting a fantasy world where they have to.
Yeah, they force them to conform to fantasy tropes. So somebody has to be the Dark Lord every year, and they kind of hate the job because it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Stop it. That was not what I thought this was about.
It's
Yeah.
hysterical. It is that people from our world go to this fantasy world to do basically a D&D style quest that you have the wizard
Mhm.
guides, which are chosen from the wizard college, and they have
Stop
to be your guide.
Stop it.
There needs to be significant amounts of like ogres attacking. You have to have
Mhm.
rest stops. You have to go to
Winged
the Enchantress's
avians,
castle.
Dark winged avians that they do geese because they run out of the actual avians.
I'm
I'm
Yeah.
dead. I
It's
did
su-
not
it is
realize
such a
that's
good
what this
book.
was.
It is hysterical. It is so funny, and it starts out the gate. The concept is incredible, and it just sticks the landing. All the things that are good about Howl's Moving Castle, which we will talk
Oh,
about
yes.
and we read, is done as well in this, where it has that cozy like vibe, and the like small scenes and like the family dynamics are beautiful. But the concept is just incredible, and it just is so funny. But it does get to a level of emotionality. There's only one weird thing in it in the entire book. There's only
Yeah.
one thing that I don't really love, but it's
A
fine.
male-coded problem too, weirdly enough, like a male-coded author.
Yeah.
Sarah says, for the record, I paused your Dark Lord Dirkholm video to go and read it, and it was great. That is honestly one of my favorite things when somebody in a comment is like, I went and read this book because of you. I think that's so cool. She was my favorite author growing up. This is still such a masterpiece. And so we will be putting it in Crisp AF.
Crisp AF.
Okay, then you guys did Gilded Wolves, which I don't have an opinion on, except that the cover is terrible.
Oh,
This was their first attempt at reading Gay Boys, and it didn't work well.
it did not.
It
I
was not
promised-
technically our first attempt. Technically, Carry On is our first attempt, but we
No.
didn't record
This
it.
was before Carry On.
Oh, really? Was
yes,
it? Oh
this
my
was
God.
well before Carry On.
Shit. Well,
Um,
what do you think? I said Luke. I would say burnt.
To lukewarm.
Yeah.
That's where for me it would go. It would be a nice halvesy because there were things about it that did like work pretty well, but
But
then
overall, it was so boring.
and it just like it didn't come through in the end, and it got overly complicated, and like some of the characters were underutilized, and
Yeah. And then remember the whole thing that we discussed about the cultural caricature of what's her name, the Jewish character,
Oh, yeah.
and the
Autism?
yeah, that too.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like it was watered down tea.
Yeah, so to give a brief explanation, this is a heist book about a ragtag group of teenagers, because they're always fucking teenagers, who need to steal an object to get another object to keep something terrible from happening, but also so that the main character can reclaim his position in society.
Only at the end for us to be told that it doesn't matter because he actually doesn't have that position in society to begin with.
And he doesn't want it. And like And it's just like, and also he decides he doesn't want it anymore, and then to be told, well, congratulations, you never had it. And there's a light romance. Some of the characters are good and interesting, but they never get fully utilized as well as they should. It was a fine read. I think for some people, they could read this, have a decent time with it, but then they would forget it almost immediately. I think it's one of those.
I agree. Yeah, because I didn't read it, but that's what it sounded like from what you guys said, is like a worse version of Six of Crows, which we have not read, but everybody seems to like. Also, Max Millen says, shout out to Tango in the Moon, who's at work and can't join. What's up? And then Will, let's do a grow your beard challenge. No shaving until you read 5-star books.
Oh Jesus, he looked like a wizard.
Well, you guys saw my beard grow out a weird amount at one point in the year, and it did not work well on my face. So we would do not. I don't want to become like get to like Seek levels of beard long. Okay.
Someone said, just wondering.
Yeah, I was just looking at that.
Kate says, just wondering, Will once mentioned he's done with YA. Are Maria and Katie done with it too?
Never.
So I'm done with a certain type of YA. I'm done with the type of YA where the main character is super sassy, where she is super special snowflake, where she like the romance is enemies to lovers. Like there's just a specific kind that I cannot. And also like I'm really done with really young characters doing things that feel well but outside of their maturity level.
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
I realized I was an adult when I watched a Harry Potter movie, and I went, why aren't you telling the adults what's happening? Why are you dealing with this, you shitty little children? Go tell the adults. And I was like, oh, I have changed.
The problem is that I really like coming of age stories. I think they're incredibly influential.
Yes.
And it's why I one day hope to create a YA story that is as influential as, say, what's her name? The
Tamora Pierce.
Yeah, thank you so much. I love that you know that. Thank you. Tamora Pierce's books built me up in feminism internally from a young age until I am now. So it made me be able to put into a perspective what I personally believe feminism should be, and which is basically just feminism. But whatever.
I don't really like Tamora Pierce.
You've read one of her books and you didn't like it?
I've read 9.
But you read her worst series.
What's the worst series?
I read 2 series. I read the Circle of Magic books, and I read part of her dog detective books.
What?
I've never even heard.
No.
You literally bought.
You didn't read? No, the Lioness series.
No.
That's the one you should read, and then
I read her later books, which you would think would be better.
No, they're not better though. At least not. I'm assuming based off your thing. But anyway, I would love to be a Holly Black, Tamora Pierce like person in someone's life, where I just wrote one book. It doesn't have to be some epic series like Harry Potter, but something that really teaches you like that it's okay to explore yourself and to be something different from everyone else and still be really capable.
Yeah, a lot of YA when I was a teenager was very empowering for me. I was like, there was especially like middle school, I was very like chubby, very pale, very hairy. The Greek was real Greeking at the time.
Okay, guys, Katie was showing me an album of younger pictures of her and Maria. Maria looks so Indian, it's really weird.
I literally have one right there, but I don't think Maria would like me showing it.
No, it's fine. You can show
you sure?
it. Yeah, it's fine.
Because I have a picture right here.
This was high school. This wasn't pale, pasty, hairy Maria, but this was high school Maria.
No, I don't have high school Maria, unfortunately. I have like 1 year after high school Maria.
I always looked really Asian when I was young. It's very funny.
Oh, jeez.
See, she's Indian. She's gonna be in like an
I was very
marriage.
Tan.
You know what it is? It's just the haircut. Katie, you were so skinny back then.
Yeah, don't talk to me about it.
She was so skinny.
You look so much better now.
Whatever.
Okay.
Wait.
Oh, look at us. This is like origin stuff.
That
guys.
Indian woman, she's on vacation.
I know, right?
The thing is, like, I've got like auntie vibes. Like I'm somebody's auntie.
It's really funny how different you look now. I think it's just the haircut.
I don't think I have any other old photos of us. The rest of these are childhood photos.
Okay. Anyway, we got to get back.
Yes.
Focus. Gilded Wolves. We will put between lukewarm and
burnt. Perfect.
And then we have the first half of the Temeraire series. What do we think?
Crunchy.
No. This is going in crisp.
Oh my
This
god.
is
Risk.
maybe one of
I
my
didn't read
favorite
enough.
series of all time. Naomi Novik is just a bamf in everything she does. This is her working, I think, at like one of her best levels. This is some of her best work. It's the most focused of the series as well. Yeah, just crisp. It's Napoleonic War with Dragons, guys. I love military fiction. It's the only time we've read it on the channel. I would die for these books.
It's so good.
But that makes so much sense with your wheelhouse. But to be
But
fair,
even I don't do military fiction. I fucking loved it. It was
well,
great.
the problem is I never read past the first half of the first book.
It also has a very fan fiction-y feel to it because it's about a
Oh
really
my
close,
God.
intimate relationship between two people.
That was my
Um,
favorite part of the whole goddamn thing.
It just gets better. It's
And
just
it
so
really
good.
does. Well, okay, actually, because now this is the second half of the series. And the second half of the series, I would have to say, I think only goes in Crunchy because it just has
I agree.
so many
completely.
problems. Like her strengths are
Really?
still there, but there's too
There
many
are
books. Like
some-
she
there
runs
is-
out of things to do.
Yeah, and there's a lot of like side books where she's exploring, and like, listen, these are fascinating concepts, but I would have preferred they would have been their own series, because like she's developed this world where dragons have changed the landscape of colonialism. You can't colonize Africa as it was because it has giant dragons that are tribal in their instincts, and so it changes the landscape. Unfortunately, within the story of the Napoleonic War with Dragons, having these asides feel like we're walking away from the actual plot for way too long. I would have much preferred she just did a like tighter this series and then had individual books that were set in these countries but were about characters in these spaces.
Yeah, no,
'Cause
very true.
I don't want to watch Lawrence and Temeraire explore the African dragon landscape and colonialism.
Remember the African dragon who, like, at the end, he's so happy to go see that his one tribe
Yeah.
member has daughters and he's
Has
going
daughters.
to embrace
I
her.
want to see their
That was
story.
so
I wanted
sweet.
her to be the main character of it,
Yeah.
and for me, that's the problem. Where like I understand what she was trying to do.
Sorry, Will voice. Temeraire.
Temeraire.
Again, for some reason, I thought for some reason I was pronouncing it wrong originally. Damn it. And so I thought it was pronounced Temeraire, and so I changed it, but then I wasn't correct, so it just stayed there.
That short is one of my most favorite things we have had. Like it just makes me that moment when I'm just oh god, I watch it all the time.
Temeraire.
Like, I can't-
Temeraire.
I can't
Temeraire.
laugh if I can't drink. Yeah. I mean, I have some problems with now. We actually had some really interesting discussions there. Like, go watch that video. I found it very interesting. But yeah, Crunchy, I think, would be. I would even put I would even put some of the books in the second half into lukewarm, but Crunchy as a whole, I think.
Yes.
Okay, so Katie,
Don't
Shadow
ask.
and
Oh,
Bone.
Lord.
I don't think we really need to describe it too much. It's about like a Russian girl who finds out she's a Greg, and that means witch. For those
Soggy.
who don't know the joke,
Grisha.
the Grisha in Russian is actually just like their form of saying Greg.
Soggy.
So they're all
It's
Well,
soggy.
oh, okay, soggy
It's
for the
soggy.
first one. No,
for
for
the
the first
one.
Soggy.
No, I
Interesting.
I don't like this book series
would-
even remotely.
Okay, so I would actually put it between lukewarm and burnt,
Burnt
if it
for
was
the
up
first
to
one.
me.
I agree.
And then for the second one, which me and Katie read, I would put that down into
Fucking
burnt.
soggy. Soggy as fuck.
Okay, all right. Maria, what do
mean-
you think about the first one?
I think lukewarm to burnt is perfectly fine. I think there were things about it that worked well. Vague things in the first book, but I
Yeah.
didn't like the main character or her reasoning. The love interests were like the one just seemed like the asshole. The other one was problematic AF. So I would say lukewarm to burnt. And then from what I've heard about the second one from both of you,
Let's
break
put it
it.
in burnt in deference to Katie's soggy.
Thank you.
And then,
Thank you. It's
let's put
because-
burnt to soggy for the second one because
It was
I do think
such a slog. And also, everyone, the beginning of the second book is such a piece. I massively dislike the beginning of the second book. Massively dislike it. I think it is the weakest of all of her writing across both books is the beginning of the second book. And that instantly puts it to soggy for me. There's no
Interesting.
redeeming factors.
I'm going to leave it between the two for right now, but I'll think about it because it was more than anything. I just don't remember it well because I just remember it literally feeling soggy to me, like especially
I was
the
so
middle
irritated the whole way through. Alina never had any goddamn character growth until she never had any character growth. I don't know. She is such a boring character. She's so boring.
She really is. It's the thing about it is I think it doesn't have that special bad X factor that like She Who Became the Sun thinking it's really smart is, or Violent Delights thinking it's smart is. I guess for me, soggy has to be when people think they're good.
No,
Okay,
for me, it's
but
painfulness of reading, which is why some of the ones you put in soggy, I would have put in burnt. But yes,
okay, next we have Grace of Kings, which was a book club book that some people really enjoyed and some people didn't like. Because I've seen through the book club rankings, and it's interesting which books people more or less agreed on and which ones are different. I thought it's basically like a very political story of an empire and a civil war and like colonialism to an extent, and also China. What are you thinking?
so for me, it would be halfway between crunchy and lukewarm
Yeah.
because there are things about it I really, really liked and that could have been crisp, but there were parts that and so it's one of those ones where like depending on the day it would be crunchy or lukewarm, and depending on the moment in which I was reading it.
I think type of reader actually very well, because again, I think if you're
100%.
more okay with the distance tone and you're more interested in the story of an empire than a person, and if you really like snarky textbook, which the book is at times,
Oh, it's
but
so good.
I think for me it would go into lukewarm, but I think lukewarm and crunchy is a good
Yes.
middle.
There are things it just does so well, and I enjoyed it. Like I had a good time. I was
I'm glad
motivated
that I
to
read
read it. Yes, I was motivated to read it, and there are so many books
Yes,
we have
true.
here that I read because of this channel. Yes.
Yeah.
Question. Why do people keep saying Ken Liu is dead to me and Ken Liu is also disappointing? Who is that, the author?
That's the author.
Yes, a lot of
Why?
people did not like the sequels.
Oh.
A couple of our patrons decided to read them on their own, essentially, in their own like 4-person book club, and they did not like them, from what I understand.
I understand. Okay, I was just confused.
Yeah. So no, yeah. Ken Liu.
Ken Liu.
I don't know, guys. I
Liu?
speak English and Spanish, and then I pronounce every foreign word like it's Spanish.
Shane
Okay.
says, "Why is Katie patiently raising her hand?"
I didn't
don't
want to
know.
interrupt because I have no input on this, but I wanted to ask a question, but I didn't want it to get forgotten. So I raised my hand.
I think honestly, women should do that more. Anyway, so
Will, why are you doing this to yourself?
I know it's funny. I have on the Patreon we have like a whole rules list of how to have like good conversations, essentially. And one of them is like, I will be sexist to Katie and Maria as a joke on the podcast, but like I would never do that to anyone on the Discord.
Oh,
and
never.
You should
Oh my
not
God,
do
are you
it
kidding?
because like this is supposed to be funny. Yeah. Oh God, this is gonna become another.
It is.
I'm
It
gonna
is.
start using it. I didn't know that.
Will misogyny arc. Hey man, I'm like a good 10 years into it. This is what happens. If I had been seriously
my God.
born 5 or 6 years later than I was, I would have been an incel for at
You
least some
should
period.
not have
Masculine.
bequeathed this information
You
upon
incel.
them.
Oh, that's very funny. But yes. Okay, so the book eaters, Maria.
Ugh.
Oh,
So I don't think I think the writing itself, and there are things this author does that keeps her out of the soggy zone for me, or them. I think I don't remember. It's
I don't know.
The
I know
author?
She Who Became the Sun is a they, but I don't know.
but I'm not
You know
gonna
what
lie,
it is for
burnt.
me?
It's burnt.
Yeah, I'm finding that
burnt.
for something to go into soggy, it has to be bombastically bad, and this was just merely extremely bad, but not bombastically so, where it
Yeah.
thinks it's good. Again, it,
wasn't,
has to.
It wasn't painful. At no point did I like bang my head against a wall and go,
Oh,
"Why
I
is
did.
this happening?"
I was like, God, can we get through this?
Ice Willow, I love you so much. Ice Willow comes in, crunchy AF. I want you to know
So
when
funny.
Ice Willow posted her ranking, it was literally let the chaos ensue. Just mwah.
Well, she said an interesting thing, which is that basically for her, a book needs to just be interesting for her to like it or not like it. And I actually think that's a really interesting way of looking at literature because one of the things I've talked about is that the main thing a book should be based on is its readability, in the same way that like sound design is important to a game, but if the core gameplay system isn't good, those two things aren't weighted the same.
Yep.
And I think again, that's kind of an interesting way of looking at literature.
And the other thing she said is, if it bores me, I'm out. And there are books that I have loved that for her was boring, and that completely makes sense if you're using that as the metric. So
Okay, so back to the book. Okay, you guys can tell there's one book I'm leaving towards the end because I think
Which
I
one's that one? I wonder.
I don't know. I don't
Which one do we keep pushing
All
around?
right, so me and Katie read these back at the beginning of the year. This was the second half of
Crunchy.
the Remnant series.
Second half.
No,
Half.
second half.
Second half.
First half was in the first
Burnt.
the first year.
Yeah, burnt. Man, I really love the first 3 or 4 too.
I
but
know,
the
bro,
second half
like-
was so bad.
The first half was literally like revolutionary in the kind of the way it approached YA literature. It was absolutely like merciless, and it was wonderfully horrible. Like it
And
was
the prose
so
were so
good.
sparse as well. Like I really liked how it was
It
written.
was so
And
good.
then-
There's this one scene, guys, if you guys haven't watched that, where there's a they descend into basically a Bosch's version of hell, and it
Harmonious
is
Bosch.
yeah, and it was so. Oh, really? Nice, Valerie. I'm glad.
Valerie says, I bought that punctuation book Katie recommends.
Guess
I
who
bought it for
actually needs to
videos.
read it?
I accidentally I couldn't help myself and bought it for several of our viewers and sent it to them. It's because it's so helpful. If you don't know what it's called A Dash of Style. Anyway, the point is, though, it was so good. But unfortunately, despite her husband's best attempts at filling in and ghostwriting for her on the second
Yes, in
half,
the second half.
it was not successful.
No, there's such a it loses that X factor that made the first half really good. Okay, and so Burnt I think is
We
correct.
do really quick. We do love you, Icefellow. Icefellow says, I need you to know I never want to be contrarian. I feel like it's my whole personality on the Discord, but not intentional. Listen,
Oh no, who
Icefellow,
cares?
you could never. William has been the contrarian of my life. I have liked books or movies, and he's been like, that piece of shit. And I'm like, did we read the same thing? So no, don't you worry.
It's fine. You be
You like
That's-
and dislike whatever you want.
To be honest, there's probably a lot of people agreeing with you too that just don't comment.
Yeah.
Again, we have 80 people in the book club and like 6 or 7 comment regularly. So always know there's probably a silent majority.
Also, please be you no matter what. It's because we need the thing is you have to always remember difference breeds education because you can compare thoughts that are not your own. So
A
please
lot
be
of
you.
people love our videos where we disagree, and so
Yeah, people really do, which is hilarious because it's like we do disagree well, but like we also just don't do it a lot. All right, Maria, this is when you and Gina read. The video hasn't come out yet, but so it's all up to you.
okay. So
This is the first 3 books.
this is the first 3 books, and for me as a reader, Crunchy, but I think overall, like culturally, it's definitely considered a crisp book, but it had some things, especially the first book. The later 2 had more of what I was looking for, but for me, it would be Crunchy.
I think okay. I had actually read some of it as a kid. I listened to the audio play as well, which is like the first 2 books. And like it's funny because as I was editing it, I was like, oh yeah, that was really funny. I forgot that stuff about the mice.
I just
Hi,
remember the movie.
Ainsley. Well,
I know I starred the comment.
I'm
Welcome.
new to your channel, and I really love your videos. Thanks.
Welcome.
So
Okay.
Meredith said, I'm gonna sound like an idiot, but wasn't this a movie? It was. The movie nowhere near as good as the book itself. I would highly recommend just reading the book. The books are so smart. It's really fantastic.
It has that British nihilistic absurdism where again the worst punishment they have is to understand your place in the universe. There's a machine, the infinite whatever machine.
Yeah.
Like again, it's that British nihilism that I think is really interesting to explore.
Guys, can I, at some point, and it's so short, I feel like it would be totally easy to do. We should do Out of a Silent Planet at some point because it's such a fascinating read.
You and
You
Maria
don't-
are not allowed to choose books. Only I get to.
Oh.
I'm just kidding.
If anyone's interested in Out of a Silent Planet, it is such a fascinating read.
How
It
long
made
is
me,
it? Because we could do it for like a book.
it's literally like the first book is like 150 to 200 pages long. And then there's several sequels, but they're all very tiny. They're like literally the book is like this thin.
Okay, yeah, we can. Yeah, definitely. I mean, again,
Yeah,
if
I
you guys
love
ever
me
want
the
to read a
sci-fi.
book,
The reason
Yeah,
I
if you
say
guys-
that, it's because it's basically that same kind of like British
Humor?
approach. Yeah, exactly. And there's not really any humor, but there's in the narration, you can feel that hefty sort of like I'm an academic feel, but in a fun way.
yeah, that's very British. That's very much Hitchhiker's Guide to the
It's-
Galaxy.
It's it's really good, and I don't want people seeing me put it in crunchy. I like a level of emotionality with my British. So like, if you've ever seen the TV series Blackadder, the reason I love Blackadder so much is because in the last episode of the last season, which is it's the fourth season is the best. It's the funniest by far. And it's super funny, and it's them trying to avoid war, and eventually they have to go over the top, and these characters who have just been joking and like absurd this entire time go over the top, and then the screen just fades to a field of red poppies, and you're like, oh my god, they're all dead. And like that
What
level
the fuck?
the emotionality of it, of just that and the sadness, because you love these characters. And
why
they're
did they
so
all die?
funny.
I don't get it.
It was set in World War One, and
Oh fuck!
yeah. And so they go over the top, and trench warfare was incredibly deadly. And so the entire series is them avoiding going over the top and having to
I didn't
go into
realize
warfare.
that. I
And
didn't realize that.
It just, and then, oh, it just like it gets me every time. And it's the same
That
thing.
is chilling. I got
It is.
goosebumps you just telling me that.
It's absolutely like it puts everything in the series, and you rewatch that the entire thing, and the context, that like bittersweetness of knowing what is coming. And I needed a little bit of that out of Hitchhikers, because Hitchhikers has all the hilarity and
Oh, I get it.
commentary, but it doesn't have that last minute pop to that level of emotionality.
That spin on a dime that British stuff can do sometimes.
Yep.
That's
yeah, no, I
so
agree.
awesome. Oh my god. Now
It's
you
great.
make me I don't even want to watch it, but now you're making me want to watch it.
Season 4, it's its own little thing. You can watch it. It's absolutely great. It's so good. I love it. Anyway, I needed that out of it, and it didn't have that. But for what it is, like, if people don't want that, it's crisp AF. It's crisp AF.
Yeah,
But
and also it's just fun to listen to as well. Again, I didn't do it this time, but I've read it
Blackadder,
once.
Shane. It's
Blackadder.
called Blackadder.
You know
I
why
remember-
it's called Blackadder? Because at the
No.
beginning of I, Claudius, the intro sequence has a black adder growing across the Roman steps, and they just thought that was really funny because it was going to be like a historical series, so they call it Blackadder.
Oh, interesting.
Trivia.
I originally, when Maria and I graduated from college, basically, I started watching Blackadder, but first season at about 1 a.m. in the morning. And it was an awful situation to go through when I was going through existential crisis of what I was going to do with the rest of my life. And I was watching that to try to relieve the monotony of my life. And it only made me feel more depressed. So that's my experience with
Season
Blackadder.
1 is never the season people should watch season 4 and then go back and watch the rest. That's the only way to watch Blackadder. I'm telling you.
Okay, next one. Maria, what do we think?
Ooh, lukewarm.
It's interesting because I like it more in retrospect, but yeah, I think lukewarm. The second half of the book is definitely
What's this
crunchy
about?
to even crisp.
Okay.
But the first half really drags it down.
This book is about a sci-fi empire that has ships, where the ships have AI, and they can not only be in the ship, but they can be individual in ancillary bodies.
Ship AI gets stuck in a human body, goes on roaring rampage of vengeance.
So its ship self gets killed, and only one of its ancillaries survive, and it is going to right the wrongs it has seen through this. And the first half, unfortunately, the thing that makes this book so good is the reason that this ship and ancillary is doing what it's doing, and we don't get that until about halfway through the book. Like, it saves that emotional payoff of what we're doing.
No,
this
not the
for,
murder robots, but yes.
until way too far into it. And so in retrospect, once you hit that point, you're on board, you're ready to go, and then it just gets good from there. But prior to that, you're like, the world is a little like, there's a lot of new things happening, and I'm not emotionally invested. What are we doing? We're on this isolated ice planet. Like, you can't do isolated ice planet first.
It doesn't quite work. It doesn't quite work and come together, but it did have some interesting vibes
sorry.
to it.
Ice Willow says, please say the names of the books out loud. This one is Ancillary Justice. Sorry, guys.
Ancillary Justice.
Oh, solid piece. Also, as a side note, there is someone in our viewership that submitted something to me, and it has a fascinating combo of like necromancy, weird old alien sci-fi combined with Lord of the Rings, and it works fairly well. But that's what your description just reminded me of vaguely.
Yeah, it's not quite that. It's more like hard sci-fi. More or less, honestly, the biggest problem is that the cover is very uninspired. Like you just cannot. I had so much
Well,
trouble.
yeah,
making
it's
it fun
nothing.
now.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, I think lukewarm. I think again the end I would put in like crunchy or crisp almost.
Oh
but
my
the first
God.
half really drags it down.
The last third is crisp
Interesting.
AF, but the
Crisp?
first half.
Well,
yeah,
don't
no,
you think
it's-
then it deserves to be in crunchy if it's
No.
crisp AF?
No,
Unfortunately,
the
it just
experience as a whole.
the experiences. The first third was, or the first half was a slog to get through. I was very bored, and I didn't fully understand what was going on. And then I did, and I was like, okay, I'm on board. And it's because the second, so the second third was meh. The first third not good. Second third meh, and then the last third was great. So
At least it gets better over time.
it does, and
It does.
the ending was so good that it really did color my view
Mhm.
of the book as a whole. Like it made the entire experience better. But I have to be honest with the I can't take away the pain past Maria felt in the first half.
Well, do you remember how to pronounce her name?
Is it a female?
Anna.
I was looking up the wiki the other day because I wanted to know some
Anna.
stuff about the world building, and I saw it, and I was like, "Oh yeah, Ananamandubiar."
How do you say? And that's the main
It's
character.
a bizarre. It's
No.
bizarre.
It's the emperor. And he's slightly mispronouncing it, but I can't remember the actual pronunciation, so we're just gonna ride it. Go watch the video. I say it correct.
Yeah. Okay, and then since we are already there, let's talk about Nine Fox Gambit, which was a similar book to me, and I feel like this was a monthly book, and this actually some people really liked it and some people really hated it. It was a kind of a very contentious pick in that way. Well, the strong feelings on it, and to me, it felt like Ancillary Justice, but without a lot of the strengths Ancillary Justice had. It never felt like to me it revved up to that finale where I had
Isn't
that
this a
much-
heist one?
No.
It's not? What is it?
This is Nine Fox Gambit is the story of, again, we're in a
Space
bad-
Empire, but
bad
math can
empire.
somehow do like magic.
Yeah, so it's Space Empire math magic, and the main character works in the infantry and ends up getting used to house the soul / mind of a old 500-year-old general who was a bit of a rebel at the time. Like he was fantastic, everybody loved him, and then his last known act was he destroyed an entire planet basically, and it just went crazy is what everybody's been sold. But he was an incredible strategist, and so they're bringing him back to life, and he's going to be stored in her body to fight this there's heretics, and then there's the calendrical system, and the heretics have taken over an outpost that's very important. We got to get it back, and that's the book.
A lot of flaws to me. I think it just doesn't execute on its concept well. I think especially also Yoon Ha Lee, the author, I think is better at writing funny stuff, and this is just not a funny one because you can tell every once in a while it'll come out the edges a little bit, and that will work, but the other parts won't. Like there's some really hilarious emails at the beginning of each chapter, but the whole thing is trying to be very dour. So I think overall I would put this in lukewarm. What do you think?
So I would put it in lukewarm because there definitely are things that this author does well, but unfortunately it lacks the emotionality that Ancillary Justice brought a level of emotionality, and I got really invested in the characters. And the one character I was remotely invested in, the emotional reason of why they were doing everything happened in the last fourth of the book. It was way too into the ending for me to be
yeah, it just
super
doesn't
motivated.
quite and so well that's actually interesting because I do think Ancillary Justice is better. Well, more they're not that I would actually probably put this more into Burnt. Thinking
know.
about
Why?
it, I would put this halfway between because I really didn't enjoy reading it. I think there's a lot of missed
Oh.
opportunities in it, and especially if we're looking at it in relation to other books. So let's put it halfway. I think
Interesting.
I'll allow it.
You'll allow it, okay.
Even though some of our patrons are clenching their fists and shaking them.
I know, but this is our ranking. Also, we do have to rush through a few of these. So, Raven Boys, instead of giving a whole thing, let's just put that in what do you think, lukewarm or crunchy?
I would say crunchy.
Yeah, I think so, crunchy too. 'cause I
Based
think
off of Alexa's review, crunchy.
it's not as good as
good.
It's not as good as Scorpio Races. Scorpio Races is more self-contained and it's more focused and it's more intense, whereas this lacks that focus and that kind of hurts it as a whole. Let's do lore as well because that's pretty simple.
Oof. Yeah, lore was a
Greek
modern-
gods are modern day
alive.
secret society. Greek gods get hunted every 10 years. by humans in a secret society. I would put burnt. Yeah,
Burnt. 100%.
Interesting.
Burnt.
we got.
We're running out of room.
Down. Yeah, I was gonna say move it down.
Burnt.
Burnt. Okay. Excuse me. Okay. You guys go ahead and talk about guards.
I
Crunchy.
loved
Crunchy to
guards.
crisp.
Yeah, I would say crunchy, absolutely. I would say crisp. I do acknowledge some of the things that
Yeah, me too.
Will said, and like it's
Me
not
too.
as good as Lord of Darkholme in that like funny absurdist humor that it has. So absolutely a happy crunchy. It would edge
Yeah.
into crisp, but I acknowledge the
Yes, exactly.
criticisms.
And also, please read it if you want a good romp.
It's a great romp.
It's good.
carrot.
If you guys want, we can put it in crisp. I don't mind.
No, put it in crunchy.
I'm
Crunchy?
happy. Like I'm happy to put it.
I'm
in
happy
crunchy.
to crunchy.
It's not crisp for me.
It's
I'm-
not crisp either. That requires a certain dramaticism that it doesn't have.
It doesn't quite get there. Okay. And then let's do let's see. 3 Parts Dead.
Oh God, that's
Okay.
hard.
It is hard. So I wasn't part of the book review for this, so I'm just going to say a little bit of my thoughts about it because I did read it. The first half was kind of meh for me. The world wasn't. I didn't like the explanations for some of the things. There was like, I hated the dumb court scene where they were like magic fighting in court. Like, oh,
I'm
so if
fine
you're
with
just
it.
more powerful, like reasoning doesn't, you can just fake a contract with your magic powers. Like, I didn't love that. But the last third, I really enjoyed. I was much
Ooh.
more into. It fixed a lot of things. Number one, Kavarian is just mwah. She's best girl. If she had been in the book or the main character the entire time, I probably
That would have
would've
been
loved this
much
book.
better.
The main character I'm much less invested in. I found the characters around her, like the girl who is part of Justice. I found Kat much more compelling. I found the
Me
priest
too.
character
That's
much more
literally what
compelling.
Will and I said. Like
Yeah.
Will and I literally discussed how Kat was more compelling. In some
Also,
ways.
another big strength of the book is the world building. The world
Yes.
building was fascinating to me, and
Yeah.
it's
Why
also a book that like it depends on what you like from it. So if you're okay with a more distanced character and you're really interested in the world building, it'll work really well for you. For me, the world building was so interesting, but if you're not really into that, you're not going to find it as interesting.
Nope, you're not. I'd say lukewarm.
I would say
I was going to say lukewarm, but then I looked at some of the others on lukewarm, and this is definitely
Yes.
crunchy.
A little bit above. Oh,
Yeah.
Well,
that's
because it's
true.
not House of Salt and Sorrow. It's
It's
not.
not.
Death of Evelyn,
It's
not
above
Ma-
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's above all of those. So I would say crunchy.
and for me,
is
crunchy
accurate.
for Kavarian.
Yeah.
A couple
no,
of people have said that.
this-
Lightning mommy, step on my
Miss,
every-
Miss Bitchy.
Everyone, the scene at the end with Miss Kavarian and oh shit, not Donovan.
Donovo.
Devello.
DeNovo.
DeNovo. Them two, that last scene where she's described as a python coming in, and
Very good.
that whole scene in and of itself shows a crunchy level of narrative control. So
Also, for me, my actual review would be lukewarm to crunchy. I'd put them halfway.
yeah, I would too.
But
Okay.
given what else is in,
Yeah, I
lukewarm.
enjoyed it. Yeah, it's grading a bit on the curve of what we read in terms
Yes.
of the book actually hints at a lot of interesting things. Let's slash some of these out quickly. Modern History of Dragons. That one, I would say lukewarm.
like
Yeah,
it was
because
not
it, like-
egregiously, but it was
It was not
oversold.
great, but it was not terrible either.
it was oversold to me.
yeah, it was. It
Oh,
was just kind
fascinating.
Yeah,
of meh. Okay, and then also an easy one. What do we think here?
Crunchy.
crunchy.
We're
I would
talking about
say-
Howl's Moving.
Yes, House Moving
Herbert,
Castle.
Herbert.
Go
Hey, I was burping. Okay. You're welcome.
Oh, so classy.
So
Howl's
classic.
Moving Castle, the book by Diana Wynne Jones, definitely not
Crunchy.
as good as Lord of Darkholme.
Nope, probably
the,
not.
The last third, the ending, would be a bit lukewarm, but we're gonna go crunchy for the sake of speed.
It's fun and it's cozy and it's not as
Pause real quick for me,
Not as-
guys. I have to switch out my battery for my headphones. It'll only take literally 5
okay.
seconds.
Okay, I'll
we'll
do some of the
we'll
ones
do
me
some
and
of
her
the
did.
ones we've just read.
Okay, this is actually going to be a little
And we're good.
contentious.
Yeah.
Little Thieves.
So in retrospect, lukewarm, but I think at the time I probably would have put it halfway between lukewarm and burnt. I did not like it at the time as much, but in retrospect, I think it's more fair to put it in like lukewarm myself, but I know you're going to heavily disagree.
I think it should go in soggy, but I think that burnt is probably, it's so bad.
Halfway.
I hate Vanya so much. She's probably my
Ooh.
second most disliked character this year. But I think burnt is fine, and I think that's probably a little bit more accurate in terms of everybody else's reaction to it. John dies at the end. This is a weird one.
I
This
watched the movie. If the movie's anything like the book, I'd put it in lukewarm to crunchy.
I would put this in crunchy, honestly,
yeah.
because I enjoyed it, and it's different. And like again, it does a lot of things. You have to be very on its vibe. Again, like it works for me because I was a young male in the 2000s. You know, like that kind of humor really works for me.
Yeah.
But I could see how it could not for other people. But for me, yeah, crunchy I think is accurate. Nettle and Bone.
Was that was the one where they made like dogs or something?
Bone
Dog
Dog.
bone.
Bone
Dog.
Dog. I loved, but I liked this much more than William did. I would say this would go crunchy for me.
Ooh.
Yeah, no, listen, it wasn't great. It was not crisp.
She's
by
a very
any-
talented author. The problem is, to me, there is a very big disconnect between the first half of the book. Like, the first half of the book is one book, and the second half of the book is another book tonally, and both are good, but when you put them together, they didn't match to me. So I would probably put it in lukewarm to crunchy if you're
Yes.
cool with that.
Yes, I'm
Can I-
absolutely fine.
Can I pause real quick? Valerie just said something very emotional.
Right after I joined you guys, chose my nomination, Nettle and Bone, and not to be sappy, it was such a joy talking to you guys about it and getting to know everyone since then. Aw.
Aww.
I think it's really nice to know people too, yeah.
Yeah. And then Meredith said your rewrite of that was top tier. I loved that rewrite. That was very
No one's
good.
ever gonna watch it, but
No.
and then we
I
got so
haven't
many good
watched
Monster
it,
Boyfriend.
but I should watch it.
It was fun. We came up, I think, with some really cool ideas, just like generating, and then there was like a
Oh,
wolf boyfriend that Maria was very happy with, and then
I
also
thought-
a lot of cannibalism.
I really thought Lindbergh said with more cannabis, it would have been Chris. And I think that's just my mind imprinted.
I was gonna say, I don't
on
know what that's about. All right, Maria, the Golden Enclaves. What do we think?
Okay. So I know some of our patrons are going to disagree, and their criticisms are absolutely valid of this book, but goddamn crisp for me, crisp for days. crisp for
Yeah,
me.
it's such a strong
Oh my
ending to
God.
the series.
It was
So
so.
what is it about vaguely? Just real
It's
quick.
the last book of the Deadly Education. Remember the one where she was in
Hogwarts
Oh
the
Legacy
shit,
College.
really?
Yes,
Because the
and-
first book was so good.
Yes. And for me, the second book is like the height of the
Yes.
series. It is the second book takes all the
Mhm.
issues that we
What's
had
that
and
one called?
discussed. The Last Graduate.
That's
yeah,
right.
that was such a strong one. This one, again, I felt like had a few problems here and there, but it so many of its reveals work so well.
I
The
need to
world
read it
building
then.
is on point. It's very intense. You know, you should do a Katie catches up, where you read the book and then you do a live stream with the people who have like as a
Also
Patreon
not watch
exclusive.
it. I mean, that sounds like a solid little spin-off for me.
It would be good. I
Yeah.
don't know if you have the time to read it, unfortunately, because our reading schedule is pretty.
I don't
Tough.
know. Maybe I can see if I can make the time because I didn't take the new job that I was gonna take. So
Well,
I'm
that's 'cause
still
you're,
suffering at my old
you're-
job.
You're a big time editor now.
That literally has
We're
nothing to do with
We're
it.
launching your career. We're launching your career. All right.
Katie
Yeah.
is-
No, I agree, Crisp.
Chris.
Okay. Let's do Ninth House.
So Ninth House for me is I'm so
That's hard.
favorable. I'm so favorable to this book because it's so much better than Shadow and Bone. I can't believe
Oh
they
my
were
God.
written by the same person.
It's
It is
fucking
crazy.
insane that it is the same author.
I
Like
can't.
literally, just with that in mind, it deserves to be in Crunchy.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it
it's
has some
crunchy for me.
problems,
I
but it
think
was good,
also,
yeah.
there are problems with it. I was thinking about this the other day. I would like it so much more if the romance was between her and the Kennedy ghost. But
Oh my god, yes!
like I really wanted that after I realized that
Me
was a possibility.
too!
Somebody said. But yeah, it's a strong book. I think it works really well.
God, if there was a romance between her and the Kennedy ghost, I literally would put it in Crisp. It's because goddamn, I was rooting for that so hard. I looked
Yeah.
up fan fiction for it, and there is none, and I'm really upset about it.
Yeah, that's some bullshit. It was a good idea. And the other thing is, it really does. improve on almost all of her issues from Shadow and Bone, and that impresses me that the author could grow to work to do better.
That's
and it gives me
honestly
hope.
the biggest reason it goes so hard and crunchy, because I think outside of that it would probably be more lukewarm crunchy for me. But it's just, I'm so impressed at the growth.
I
and
know.
the solve, and like the imagery is fantastic, and I like the
Ooh. Judo Shrew says the sequel's a real letdown.
oh
Yeah, that's
okay.
what I've heard, is that it kind of gets weird,
That
which
sucks.
we probably won't read it, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
Um,
And I also understand, because Idrissa says I really didn't like Ninth House. I can see why.
I can see why too. I just was so shocked by the growth, and in combination with the fact that I did truly like our main character for the most part.
Lindbergh reminds me why I would. Put
Yeah,
this
that's
crunchy.
right.
Yeah, the Ninth House
That's
fell
right.
apart so bad towards the end. I did not like the ending of that book.
I did not
Yeah.
like the
The
ending.
first 3/4 were so strong.
good.
Were so strong, and then the last fourth, and that's why for me, like objectively, it would be lukewarm crunchy. The first two-thirds were just really solid, and then it just falls apart. Yeah.
I think for me, part of it is I'm grading a bit on a curve of the books we read, and this one I enjoyed reading, and so many of the ones we read.
I would
didn't.
agree with that too, Will. I really loved the scene where she got possessed in her past when she
Yeah,
when
by
Oh,
her
that was
friend.
such a strong scene.
that was such a strong scene. So that like there are several of those scenes in this book where I'm just like, wow, this really deserves so
you know,
much.
one of the scenes I think about a lot is when she puts on his sweater and sleeps in his bed when he's gone. There was such a
Yeah.
moment of like, oh, what happened there? And then the rest of the book isn't really like that. Like, again, I think
Nope.
structurally the book, like,
It's such
there
a
are
shame.
problems with it, but I think
The-
over the all, it's pretty
Out
strong.
of their emotion, like you think they're much closer than they are when by the time
Yeah.
it disappears, and that's not actually the situation. And I remember being frustrated by that. So this is a case of, compared to everything we've read, it was so much better that I am forgetting the things I disliked, and through talking about it right now, I am
Mhm.
remembering it.
Okay, so, Maria, what did you think of Warhammer?
So,
Oh boy, that face.
So-
I actually want to do another one, but it's me and Katie reading Warhammer instead
Oh,
of me
let's
and
do
you.
it.
yes.
Yeah, because there's some other books
Um,
I want to read.
So Eisenhorn would probably be burnt for me, but this other one we read would probably go in lukewarm.
Sophia's Cane
Soph-
for the Emperor.
Yes, would
It's
go.
Sophia's Cane, but
Yeah.
I pronounce it wrong. Would probably go in lukewarm.
Yeah, so I'm happy to put
Let's
it
do-
halfway.
Yeah.
Well, you give me your listen.
I don't
I'm not
know,
the only
because-
ranker here.
No, it's hard for me to think about it in a non-fan of the setting way. It
Mhm.
really is, because like I enjoyed Eisenhorn a lot, but I don't think it's actually that good a book. So let me think. Yeah, let's put it in lukewarm. I think
Okay. I'm
lukewarm
willing.
is accurate.
I'm willing.
Let me make sure I moved all these correctly, because
Move Gilded
was
Wolf
between lukewarm
halfway,
and burnt,
yeah.
or was it burnt or lukewarm?
It was there. We go there, and then same with Nine Fox.
Yeah, Nine Fox Gambit. I'm having to move these around. Okay, so the traitor Baru Cormorant. I fucking hated this book.
Oh
So
shit.
much.
I
A
wouldn't
lot of
say-
people really love it, and I fucking hate it.
And it's one of those books where a lot of people who are our fans really enjoyed it, and then we didn't. And for me, I wouldn't say I fucking hated it, but it was just very boring. I was very heckin' bored. and
This book has that flair of I think I'm great and I can write well,
Oh,
and
look at
actually
all
it's
these.
shitty. Soggy. Yeah, we really did not like. The problem is that thematically it's trying to try something really difficult and it's not succeeding, but it thinks it is. And so it's very pretentious. It's also very long and a little boring.
It is that for me was the biggest problem. It was very boring, and I had a hard time connecting to Baru as a main character. It's one of those things where had I
Mhm.
emotionally connected or was invested, I would have enjoyed this book so much more, because I can do boring, but unfortunately I just was not invested.
Well, and also, you know the twist halfway through the book, and then the book acts like
Yeah.
you don't know what the
It
twist is
literally
for half
tells
of it.
you the twist, and
Yeah.
then for the rest of it ignores it and doesn't, because it's not like, and she was going to betray them, like, and just pretends, and she's
You
playing
know.
it straight, and
Because
but
they told you
know.
earlier. Yeah,
And
so I'm sorry guys, I'm putting it in soggy.
I think enough
Ooh.
people agreed with you for that to be solid.
Let me
Okay.
tell you though, some people really love it, and I get why, but not for me. Not for me.
Another one that's very clearly going in soggy is A
A
Million,
Million
to
to
One.
One.
This is
Titanic.
another one that should have been like the Titanic, a girl squad heist on the Titanic, women of color taking back a cultural artifact, should have been good, is insanely fucking bad.
Really?
It's so bad.
It's so bad.
hysterical. Like
You
but
made it's a song. It's called "The Ship of Dreams," and you made me feel like I was in a fucking mall.
I
on
would
my
rather
favorite
have. I
show.
finished this and was like, I would rather have watched the movie
The
Titanic,
Titanic.
and I don't
Mhm.
love that movie by any stretch of the
I
imagination.
hate that movie.
I would much rather have just
Yeah.
watched that and like, because at least that movie got the wonder of the boat. Like the boat felt
Mhm.
like its own character.
The
and
the
was,
guys on the and also like the pathos of everyone drowning. Like if you ignore the
That's
parts
so
where there's a
fucked.
murderer running around, like the pathos of the musicians, the people on all those things, this book just misses. And so we're putting that fucker in soggy.
Oh
Soggy.
shit!
soggy AF.
So
Desoggy.
passionate.
Okay.
Nearly desoggy.
All right.
And now we have the last three, which I left because these are going to be a little pistola-y. Let's start with A Court of Mist and Fury, which is the second ACOTAR book.
Lukewarm.
Soggy for me.
Soggy. So the
Lukewarm
most
to burnt. Burnt's okay.
Put it in burnt because Katie
no,
lukewarms it.
No,
oh God.
It deserves to be put in burnt. I'm sorry. There are some scenes in there that make up for her shitty writing.
Yeah, but think about the like how much of that book is devoted to nothing happening.
I don't care. I don't care. Fine,
Yeah,
soggy. Fuck
The
you,
most we can
soggy.
do is soggy and burnt.
Okay.
That's the most I'm sorry that we can do. I can't do more than that. And then we're gonna have Song of Achilles, and I'm
Lukewarm.
sorry. No.
Burnt!
No. Soggy. I'm
It's
pulling
burnt.
it out.
Burnt.
I'm pulling out the one card. Yeah, this is the
No,
one
you have
time.
put several things in that I said should have been in burnt, and you put them in soggy, and I didn't argue with you. So I am putting my foot down. I would not have burnt.
I think it's funny that you guys think you have any control over this because I'm
Okay.
not taking it out of soggy.
You piece of shit! Put it
you
in
don't-
burnt!
Okay, let me paint a picture for you guys.
I'm gonna show my titty and then we're gonna get banned.
This
No.
is, and then you're gonna lose a lot of income, Katie.
Well, a
you're-
lot of income.
Yeah, you're still most of you get it from the critiques. I hate this book. I hate it more than anything in my life. It is sickly sweet. It is cloying. It is the author thinking she's a fucking genius. And it also has my least favorite character in fiction, Patroclus. He is the soggiest motherfucker imaginable.
You have such
I hate
a
it.
passionate tone for this right now. It's
I
so
hate
funny.
it. It's very funny because going into the book, I was like, I don't want to, I'm worried that I'm going to not like it because I'm like a little bit homophobic, like internalized, like that kind of thing. And then I started reading and I was like, oh no, I hate it for so many other reasons. It's so bad. I hate Patroclus. He is the soggiest character in the world.
I mean, you're not wrong. He sucks as a character, but my God, you are so impassioned.
I
by
hate
it.
it.
Listen, I would never let it go into lukewarm. I would die before I let it go into lukewarm. But
I'm
for
fine
me,
with burnt. I'm fine with burnt.
I'm leaving
You
it in
put it in
soggy.
burnt.
I'm sorry, guys.
No.
Each of us gets one, like...
No, half and half. Half and half. Burnt and soggy. I'm sorry.
what?
You have to
I'm
do
sorry. There have been multiple that you've put multiple in soggy that I didn't agree should
Wait,
go with.
the only two you agreed with was she who
No,
became...
I did not. I said burnt for both of them, and you said no. I'm putting it in soggy, and I went okay.
You have to put it halfway into burnt. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. You
have to. It's
I have
Um,
not put my foot down on anything yet.
group work, teamwork. Teamwork makes the dream work. You have to do it.
Here's what's up. You guys can come into this document and change it, but I am not moving my fingers to put Song of Achilles in a higher tier.
Where's the document?
That's it. I actually thought about having a moldy tier where each of us gets to pick one worst book and it goes in there regardless of what the other
Yes.
ones think.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not gonna.
That's-
Oh wait, you know what? To be fair, I did enjoy the Remnant series, and I did enjoy Court of Thorns and Roses, and I did enjoy the the Goblin Market one more than I enjoyed Song of Achilles. But I still think it deserves to be in burnt, regardless
What's good
of
about
that.
it? You know what? This is a
The
good point.
prose. The prose is fine.
And I quote,
Where is this
her
document? I would
sad
like to move
butt
it.
looked like a sad butt. Do we remember that quote, guys?
No, her butt looked like a heart, a sad heart.
No,
Whatever,
a sad
that's
face.
the weakest
No,
part
it
of
was
it.
a recriminatory face. I'm sorry, guys. Okay. And then
Wait, side note. I want you to know that both where the fuck is my mouse? Okay, Angry Otter says this, and then also Celia says the same thing.
are you really funny? No,
And
it's
then-
not. It's awful. It's
And
not
then
worth
Lindbergh
anything.
says, "This is Will's dictator origin story."
I'm here for. You know what? Honestly, again, you guys can mentally think that it's between Bert and
Fourth
Soggy,
ring
but
can go in Soggy.
I am not putting Song of Achilles. I'm not moving my muscles to do that. Okay. All right. Yeah. Fourth one goes into Soggy, I guess. And
We can just all agree on that. That's fine.
bam. And I think that's the list. I think this is
I
actually
like
pretty.
the one that had some of the highest viewerships. We're just like, yeah, Soggy.
Well, that's the thing. People love watching us roast books, and like I get it, but it's funny because this year I really tried to pick books that were good. Like Sabriel, Dark Lord of Dirkholm. I know it went in knowing those were going to be good, and sometimes that backfired stupendously. Like She Who Became the Fun and These Violent Delights and Song of Achilles, all were books that I thought were going to be good and then weren't. And so we ended up having more roasts than last year somehow.
Yeah, like we thought Lore was gonna be good. We thought Violent Delights was gonna be good. There was a lot of books that we went into this thinking were going to be good books.
I thought
Million
Song
to
of
One.
Achilles was gonna be in the crunchy zone originally.
Mhm.
A lot of
Yeah.
them. And She Who Became the Sun as well, when it got picked, because that was one of our book club books. Like when it got picked, I was like, oh yeah, no, that would I thought like and same with Poppy. Like I just went into a lot of these thinking they were gonna be much better. Or even Book Eaters. I thought the concept was gonna be really cool. I didn't go in expecting to dislike it.
Even A Million to One, I went in thinking it was going to be good.
Yep.
I take psychic damage every time I think of Fourth Wing. It is pretty bad. And so, yeah, by the way, for people wondering, like, Crunchy to Crisp is the only books I consider worth reading. Like, if you're in lukewarm or lower, I don't actually think that's really worth reading at all.
Oh, completely
Um,
disagree. I think anywhere from lukewarm, like the lowest lukewarm upwards, is worth reading.
No, for me, it's like, it's just not doing a lot at that point.
You learn a little bit from it, though. That's the point.
Yeah, but also life is like, there's a short amount of time, so a bad book kills you a little bit. Which would be a perfect, transition into Will's jail time, but we're not going to have time for that today. Will's author jail. So what we'll do, because we're already at 2:15, what we'll do is I will now reveal what the book club members thought of the books
Oh,
they
yes.
did. We got about 12 people who responded, and what happened is I
Oh,
ended up
fair.
weighting these based off of how many people had read them, because otherwise you would just get weird things where books earlier in the month would be like early in the year would be way less popular than books people hated later in the month, so they're
Just because
weighted
we
by
had more people.
yeah. Okay, and so the first thing is here we are. Book club
Nobody
verdict.
put shit in Chris.
No,
Okay,
people
so here's the
did,
problem.
But it's how it weighed out.
Yeah, the way it weighs out is like if even one person doesn't give it a 6, then all of a sudden it's in a lower tier. I don't really know math, so I don't know how to handle that. So
Nettle
basically
and
just
Bone
consider
went
this.
pretty high.
A lot of people really liked Metal and Bone. I was surprised. Sabriel, Howl's Moving Castle. These 4 made sense
Those
to me.
4, like, and
Yeah.
I'm even okay with Nettle and Bone being in the crunchy, like, because I enjoyed a lot of it. So I'm
Oh,
pretty...
these are also, by the way, left to right in terms of strongest. So Scorpio Races is number 1, Howl's Moving Castle is number 2, Sabriel is 3, like that. So Dark Lord of Dirkholm. So it actually makes sense that this is almost at lukewarm. Raven Boys, Ninth House. Dowry of Blood is a little bit weird because only 2 people voted on it, so it may be a little bit statistically wonky. And then we have at the bottom, Million to One. and then
Everything
Fourth
that
Wing and She Who Became
100%
the
we
Sun.
agreed on.
Yeah, Fourth Wing and She Who Became the Sun were tied for
Oh,
last.
but you have to remember, this is an extra tier, Katie. There
Yeah, I know.
wasn't a...
I know it's
Yeah.
even lower.
Yep. It is
So
even
technically,
lower.
I guess you're right. Technically, these should all be up 1.
Yep.
But no, you're right. Actually, you're right. Yeah, these were even below what everybody wanted.
Yeah.
So I think overall, this actually, I'm proud of our patrons. This mostly makes sense. They
Yeah, it
liked Grace
does.
of Kings more than we did, I think, which makes
Yes.
sense. And yeah,
I it's interesting. It's funny that Baru Cormorant ended up in Soggy here as well. Like there's
A
a
lot
couple
of-
that I'm surprised about.
Yeah, there are some where people like more or less kind of liked them.
We are at 160.
Yeah,
Still,
lots of
we
people.
consistently held 150 approximately the whole time.
This is so cool, guys.
Isla says Fourth Wing doesn't deserve this. It does. I'm sorry. It's
I'm
so
so
bad.
I don't like it. It has no love. I got zero.
I wouldn't say
So,
moldy. I'd just say soggy.
And so I'll reveal this. We don't have time to do it, but I did create one for ships if we had wanted to do it, but
Oh my god! What?
Yeah.
Shit! We have to do these too. We have to do a part 2.
it's
I'm
2:30.
so sorry. I have stuff to do.
No, I
I'm
said a
so-
part
I'm
2.
so
Did I
tired.
not?
And then
Oh.
obviously I had Will's author jail, where we would put a book here, we would have the crimes, and then we would have chat figure out the punishments.
Oh my
but
god,
again,
Sarah Gay Flint
sadly-
is so upset we don't have time for author jail. We should have a part 2 for this discussion though, guys.
I mean,
There's too much content you can wring from this. I'm sorry. That alone, you need to admit.
we should do an extra one at the end of the year, because that's when people actually click on these lists a lot. It's kind of annoying that our anniversary is in the middle of like summer.
Well, then let's finish this at the end of the year for a New Year special.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Oh,
and
sorry.
so-
Sorry. That's Sasha. Sasha is barking. Apologies. It's because I screamed, but my husband is currently trying to curtail it.
and yeah, that is our book ranking. I think that was a pretty strong ranking. I think it makes sense, except for that whole thing with Song of Achilles. Yeah, thank you all so much for being part of this podcast. It's really cool, especially everyone on the Discord. You guys are
Yeah.
really great. It makes doing this really worth it.
It does.
It's really cool
It
too
really
that people are
does.
just like doing like analysis, which is just something that doesn't happen elsewhere.
It's
and
like
I really
being
like
in
that.
my and it's like living my glory days in my creative writing class in college, except for with a lot more people. So thank you for being part of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's yeah, and we've been able to make this. You guys have really been able to make this sustainable for us to do, which is really cool. And hopefully, we're gonna keep growing. I think basically we're probably just gonna grow at the rate we are now, which is pretty slow. But that's okay. And, you know, bigger. If you get too big, things can get kind of shitty. Like you get more attention, you get canceled, you start getting like right now we have a group of people that I think really
Are pretty
appreciate
cool.
what we do, and they're pretty cool, and I really think that's really great. If
We
you
have
would,
cultivated a great audience.
Thank you
Yeah.
guys for being so lovely.
yeah. Do you guys have anything to say?
Thanks for being here 2 years in, guys. Like,
A
again,
song of ice and fire.
I didn't think we'd be here, okay? She just mentioning it herself for the sake. But yeah, thank you for being here. We have plans to read good stuff going forward. You guys are great.
If you know, join the Patreon. It helps us do this. It's
Yes.
really cool.
It's
If you guys want merch bad enough, fucking vote on it or
Yeah,
something.
a lot of people really wanted merch for this, and I'm like, guys, I have like 5 days to set that up. Like, it's not, it's not gonna happen in that time.
If you
I
guys
do
are
have
very
plans.
interested in it, just keep reminding us so Will be persuaded.
If you guys know any designers who do merch stuff or have done merch stuff in the past, send them to me on the Discord and I'll take a look. That's what I'm really doing because I don't want to just do a copyright-free font on a coffee cup. Like, that to me just is so lame. I'm just here for Maria storytelling. Yeah, fair. Lots of hand movements. Lots of the camera not liking it. But yeah, so we will have merch at some point. We won't really make money off of it. It'll pretty much just
But it's
pay
for you.
itself. But
it's
you know,
literally
yeah.
just for you guys.
Yeah, you guys will probably enjoy it. So, yeah, I think that's it.
that is it, guys. Thank you for being here
Thank you.
with us on a Saturday,
Yes,
giving
thank
us
you very
your
much.
time of your
And
valuable
Angry
weekend.
Otter's kid is probably having to eat Pop-Tarts. That's what I was thinking of leading up to this.
Shut
But-
the fuck up. That is so funny
Yeah.
that at this point, Angry Otter has become such a massive pillar of the community that we're
Of the
like, oh,
community.
poor Angry Otter's kid having to eat Pop-Tarts.
Pop-Tarts on his
I
All
like
right.
Pop-Tarts. It's probably a thankful thing. Like,
Very healthy, too.
it's like, yes, unresolved sexual tensions on, I get Pop-Tarts.
croissants. Angry Otter says it's croissants
Oh,
today.
croissants are so good.
Oh, whatever. Croissants are good.
Okay, all right, guys. Sign us off.
Thanks for being here. Bye.